This episode of the AFTN Soccer Show is brought to you by Recovery Family Law. Recovery Family Law is here to help you solve your family law problems. If you are going through a separation or divorce, they can provide you the confidence to make good decisions and support to enforce your rights. If you have a question about property, children or support, they have the answers. It's not too late or too early to get help. Email info@recoveryfamilylaw.ca or visit recoveryfamilylaw.ca and let their team get you excellent results.
Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we came for. We can bring you more than the score. Every story. Let's take this thing off of the field into the real world, away from the numbers, away from the numbers.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends. There's still time. The AFTN Soccer Show, broadcasting on CITR Radio 101.9 FM from the unceded Musqueam territory at the University of beautiful and very, very sodden British Columbia, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. I'm Michael McCall.
And I'm Zachary Adam Eisenheimer.
Are you? Are you sure you're not Colorado Rapids Management of Equipment Hayden Andrews?
Oh my goodness, Michael.
You didn't like the lookalike photo I put out, did you?
I'm a little bit smaller than him.
Yeah, yes. If you saw him standing up, you would be very offended.
I don't need to see him standing up to know I'm a little bit smaller.
He looks a little bit as well like Braun Strowman, which I don't think you do look like. So he does. So maybe he doesn't look like you.
Yeah.
If anyone doesn't know what we're talking about, I saw the Colorado Rapids equipment manager yesterday, and I sent a message to Tom going, "You need to get a photo of this guy. He looks like Zach."
And then you text me and said, "Hey,
Yeah.
there's a dude here who looks like you." And I was like, this can't be good.
You've got more hair than him.
Yeah, I'm not, because unfortunately I'm not. It'd probably in some ways be better to be bald, but yeah.
I just shaved my head
Yeah.
this week again. I didn't shave other parts though, because it was the 1970s night at BC Place. So I was just going with the 70s flow.
Oh my goodness.
Didn't ask others if they had followed suit. Although Nathan Vanston was wearing a snazzy little brown checkered outfit to fit in with the 70s vibe. He looked very nice in it, I thought.
There you go.
But yeah, it's been a very wet weekend, especially today. I was out in North Vancouver, Kinsman Field, one of only two grass pitches in League One BC. And I love my grass pitches. Maybe I'm seeing why in a wet place like Vancouver, more places don't go with grass pitches, as the women's game barely finished and the men's game did not start because of warthogs on the pitch. And yeah.
Warthogs on the pitch?
Yes, waterlogged pitch. It's an old fun thing going back to Soccer AM, a TV show in the UK where they always refer to warthogs on the pitch. But yeah, it was rained out, and I was disappointed not to call the second game, but delighted to get into the heat of my car, because even though I was in a tent, I was soaked, my notes were soaked. Thankfully, I decided not to bring the laptop because I just had a horrible feeling it wasn't going to go well. But yeah, it's been a very, very wet weekend. And the game that you were watching today, we'll touch on the CPL in part 3, but The Valor game got postponed for 2 hours against VFC. Sure, you're wishing it had been called off altogether after the end result. But I got home and I sat down, made myself a coffee to try and warm up. Thought I'll check my emails. Saw the email from Caitlin saying, "Oh, the game's been postponed until 3:55." I was like, "Result! I get to watch it live."
Nice. Yeah.
Watched it up to the second goal, then switched over to WFC2, who I'd totally forgotten were on. Otherwise, I would have gone up to Swangard and just watched the game. But I missed that, unfortunately. But it was a good win for WFC.
Are you saying there's too much football?
I think there is. I'm even forgetting what games are on.
Yeah, that's age and the amount.
Yeah,
and,
true.
And even though we're going to have a deeper discussion about this later, there just keeps on becoming more and more football, as the news this week talked about.
Yes, indeed, because Project 8's Women's League has a new name. The Northern Super League, as it will be known in 2025. We're not going to talk about that in the show because we want to give it the time that it deserves. And we'll wait until we've got a quieter episode where there's not as much going on, with the Whitecaps going on a break. Next week's probably a good time to chat about that. It'll give us a chance to do a few chats ourselves, get a little bit more information about some tidbits we've been hearing about Whitecaps and the Calgary team as well. Calgary Wild. We saw their Angry Birds logo that they announced this week. Very nice. I like it. Caitlin likes it too. My Caitlin. Haven't asked VFC Caitlin. Maybe do that on the call this week. We'll see her thoughts on it. But yeah, we'll talk about that in the next show. Maybe get a couple of interviews around the Vancouver team, which I believe is not going to be called the Whitecaps, according to some comments that Steph LeBay made this week. So we will talk Whitecaps though in this show. We're going to do this in 3 parts. And we're actually recording this early. It's before 8 o'clock on Sunday, and we are recording this. So this might actually come out at a decent time now on Monday. As I mentioned, I'm working at 9 tomorrow. I've got a call at 8:30. I'm jumping on as well before work, so we'll see if I get to work in time. I don't think that's probably likely. But we're going to talk Whitecaps in part 1, part 2 as well, and then turn our attention to CPL and League One BC and Canadian Championship in part 3. Before we get into that, how has your week been, Zach? Apart from Sodden. Soggy Sunday was the other thing I was titling the games. Yeah,
again, another full week with so much going on in life. I actually had a really relaxing Saturday, just watching lots of football on TV while getting other things done. And
Champions League.
Yeah.
Wasn't a classic game. Dortmund started really well, I thought, in the first half.
The first half was brilliant. If Dortmund had just been able to bury one of those chances.
Yeah, and they had enough of them.
Yeah, it's so frustrating.
As soon as Madrid took the lead, though, you're like, that's it.
Yeah, and it was literally they just had a couple of they turned off for just a couple of times momentarily, and that was it. It was over. Like even Real players said, after the game, some of them said, "Yeah, we were not the better team today, but we are, happy that we won."
Well, the thing is, champions find a way of winning when they're not playing well. It's just what makes champions champions. And I mean, they are a powerhouse. There's still all this stuff floating around with Alphonso Davies maybe going there this year, maybe waiting another season going on a free. So that's going to be the interesting story to watch over this summer.
The free thing, though, Michael, one of the issues with that, because I know you're concerned about, and a number of our listeners will be concerned about, will the Whitecaps financially benefit from Alphonso Davies' transfer? Is I'm pretty sure that for Bayern, they're looking for, now that they have Vincent Kompany as their.
Oh yes, we'll talk about that as well.
You do not want to talk about this now, I'm sure, but now that they have a head coach, they
can he keep them up?
Yeah, that shouldn't be a problem.
As you get older, it's harder to keep it up, I tell you.
But no, seriously, now that they have a coach, now that they can move forward with squad planning, because they basically put squad planning on hold because they're like, we can't do it. Like players, like, what's happening? They're like,
that's true. Yeah.
When there's a coach, we'll talk, right? And so, and they didn't really pursue I think they did some work on some players they would want, but um, they now what's going to happen is one of his priorities is to connect with Davies and Davies people to figure out what he wants, or what his plan is. I don't. They're not. That wouldn't include them raising their offer of supposedly 13 million euros, which is below his desired 20 million, which he definitely did not approve he was worth in the in this last season. But what they want is they want him to say, yeah, I'm going to resign, or no, I'm not. And if he's not going to resign, they are going to try and sell him. So this is where things could get a little bit awkward, right? And Alfonso, if he really does want to be at Real Madrid and would prefer to go there on a free because of the financial benefits that it could also come his way because of that, right? If the club doesn't have to pay a transfer fee, they can give him more money, whether that's salary or signing bonuses or whatever.
Although if he goes to La Liga, let's hope he has a better accountant than some of the other players that have
totally
file of the tax laws in Spain.
Yeah, but so if he's like, no, I'm going to play, I want to play out my contract and whatever, and they say, no, we don't want to do that, then that'll be interesting what happens then, right? And again, people like yourself will be very keen to see the outcome of that, because will they end up saying, okay, play your deal and go live your dream at Real, or will they say, no, we're selling you now, or yeah, if you're not signing a new contract, we're selling you, or you're going to play in the Amateur. You're going to play at FC Bayern 2, right? Which they could choose to say. So, which would then obviously devalue him. Could make a Real Madrid say, yeah, you had a year out. We're not going to give you the.
Yeah, you're not at that level.
Yeah.
Also, if you're dropping down the leagues, there's more risk of getting injured because you're playing against other players that's not on the same kind of level.
Totally, because they would be in technically like Div 4, like the Oberliga, no, the Regionalliga, like the regional league. And yeah, you can imagine if you were playing against a big star and you wanted to make a name for yourself, or you get your 50 minutes of fame or whatever. But not unlike MLS players in some all-star game situations.
Yeah. It's also why some MLS players don't want to drop down and play MLS Next Pro.
Exactly. Or CPL players maybe don't want to play League One.
Yes.
In some cases, yeah. So anyways, some really interesting developments there. I can't even remember how we got there now.
Oh, we just asked how your week was.
Yeah.
Should have known it would involve Germans.
I got a message from Andrew Delbar this week. He's like, he's just like, a friend told me that you guys are talking about me on the podcast.
And that friend will tell him again that we're talking about him on the podcast
exactly. Now. So he's like, I got to go back and listen to what I've missed or whatever. I said, look, I think it was I said, I'm so old, I don't even remember anymore. So I said, I think we were just talking about how you were expressing perspective on people on kind of both ends of the Miami spectrum when it came to wanting your money back, to you should only be here if you're a supporter of the team, you shouldn't care and you should just shut up and support kind of thing. And how he had concerns about kind of both ends of the spectrum being kind of, not ideal places to be. But anyways, hopefully he'll go back and listen to those episodes and figure out what we said.
The thing with the Miami thing, it's died down
already
very quick. I think it has.
I don't know, dude. I've been on some of their social posts and people are like, scam club, blah, blah, blah. They're just going like some like belligerent people.
I just haven't seen that then. I mean, the petition made the news on Monday, farcically on like CTV and Global and stuff.
I totally forgot about that.
But I hadn't really heard anything else. And like, from our point of view, the good thing is at least we got to focus on football from a Whitecaps perspective this week. And that's what we're going to talk about in the next two parts, because it was a 2-game week for the Whitecaps, 2 games in 4 days, in fact, and a 6-point week as well.
Right, which you were very, very concerned about on our last.
I was. I mean, I'll put my hands up. I thought they were going to lose both games.
Yeah.
But to be fair, I didn't factor in how absolutely shit Sporting Kansas City are.
Which is weird because you know them so well with your love for their Scotsmen.
Yeah, at home though, I thought they would be better.
Yeah.
I also didn't expect them to just gift the Whitecaps a couple of goals from horrible defending on the first to just passing the ball to Ryan Gold for the second. I mean, we won't get too much into the KC game, but we'll talk a little bit about it. So it was a 2-1 win in the end for the Whitecaps. The disappointing aspect for me was it wasn't a clean sheet, and it wasn't great defending from the Whitecaps to give KC a glimmer of hope. But even with them letting that in, it never felt that KC was suddenly going to get 2 goals in a 2 or 3 minute spell to salvage a point. But you're always a little bit worried because a team then suddenly just gets a massive boost and just lays siege on the Whitecaps goal in the hope of trying to get something. But I mean, the Whitecaps fully deserved the 3 points in this one. It was a good workmanlike performance, a pair of goals for Ryan Gold. And the first one, he has the shot, it's saved, rebound comes back to him, and Casey just let him walk past about 3 guys to make room for himself to fire home. So you see a goal like that, and you understand why they're in the mess that they're in. Then you see the second goal.
Yeah, I was going to say, if you want to say he had space and time and no one kind of closing him down, in that very quick moment in the box on the first goal, the second goal is a true gift.
Well, the thing that annoyed me as a football fan in this, obviously as a Whitecaps fan, I was delighted and I don't care that this happened, but if that was your defender, if Tim Leibold is your defender in your team, and he plays a pass like that where he didn't look to see if there was anyone there, and you see him from one of the camera angles, he's looking ahead and then just plays it as a no-look pass. And Gold's like, thank you very much, pounces on it, runs in, goal. He would be dropped immediately from my team because that is just unacceptable defending. Peter Vermees afterwards had said, we won't talk about the second goal. Everyone knows it was a bad mistake, but he did talk about poor defending on the first and et cetera, et cetera. And then by the time that they did that for the second, they'd basically shot themselves in the foot. And I asked Ryan after the game how he read that situation. Was he expecting the ball? Because as a striker, as a forward player, you're always kind of anticipating something happening because that's what the best forwards in the world are like. And he said he could tell by his body language that he was shaping up to play the ball back. So he just moved into that space. And that just shows you the quality that Ryan Gold, his football IQ that we talk about a lot, that he read that. And he also then had the skill to finish. And like Gold's coming off a 2-goal game on Wednesday, a 2-assist game on Saturday, 11 goal contributions now in the last 13 matches for the Whitecaps. So he's starting to find his form. And we'll talk about some of the other stuff that happened in MLS this week. But as you watched some of these games play out, you're like, it's like difference makers for some of the teams are so huge. And it's good at least that we've got Ryan to do that. But you just wish that there was another one because overall, although they deserved to win, it wasn't a great performance. It was better than the Miami one, but it wasn't a fantastic performance.
Yeah, you're right. It was not the result was great. The performance was lacking. I think one of the most interesting things that came out of the game against Kansas City midweek was Vanny showing, even if it was a little, some permutations of his approach to the game with that
Yes.
3-2. When I saw that, I was just like, oh, okay, he is trying something. At least he is trying something a little bit different.
Well, he said on Saturday after the Miami game that he was open to that, and we were like, well, the proof of the pudding's going to be in the eating.
Yeah. Now, some people are listening to this probably saying, hey, look, the change was not that significant. And that's not unfair. And also the other perspective is when you only have a couple of days to make a change, you can only make so much of a change or so much of a change within the framework that the team's been building up since preseason. And we know that they've done a bunch of work in preseason on different things. But yeah, it was interesting. And again, performance wise, you could say it was lacking, but in results wise, it got the job done.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, there are still people I think out there who are crying out for a back four because one, I think they think the Whitecaps can be more successful with it, and two, it's more, it's maybe what they just personally favor or they think is, the better approach. But this comes back to, Vanny's ideals and his way of doing things, and yeah, which we won't get into in great detail right now, but yeah.
Yeah, and he kept the 3-5-2 for
Yeah.
the game against Colorado on Saturday, and that formation helped a couple of players, and I'll talk about a couple in the next part. But again, I asked Ryan about that sort of playing in a front two and how he felt that benefited him against KC. And he said when he's just playing further up beside Brian, they've got their understanding a little bit better than when he played behind. Whereas on Saturday, they started off like that, but then he dropped back behind Brian when Fafa came on.
Mm-hmm.
And they got a lot more spark that way, and it kind of freed Ryan up a little bit. It's tough to kind of decide where we're going to get the best out of Ryan Gold.
Yeah, because he hasn't been, and I've heard lots of criticism of this, he hasn't been as dynamic as he can be, and in terms of being the focal point of the attack. Uh, Especially, I guess, on the creative front, right? He's still
Yeah.
scoring some goals, and obviously he takes the penalties and does well with that, but he really hasn't been just simply as creative as he has been
Hmm.
most of his time in Vancouver.
He like in a front two, you can definitely see his goal scoring threat, but then the creativity goes a little bit. But then the creativity came in the second half against Colorado on Saturday when he dropped back and then he actually dropped out to a
Mhm.
wide role. So it's finding how we're going to get the best out of him. And it might be that he plays different positions in the same match and just kind of moves around the field. He definitely needs some more quality in and around him.
Yeah.
And we won't harp on too much about this again, but a number eight, another striker, that's definitely what he needs around him. But
Hmm.
they kept the 3-5-2 formation for the Colorado game and came away with a 2-1 victory. All the goals coming in the second half, and it was obviously a stoppage time winner from super sub Damir Krylak that did the damage. The Krylak was released.
Yeah.
And although it took an age for that ball to trickle over the goal line, it,
It was
it was a
reminiscent of
good one.
I was talking to people today. It was reminiscent of a Robert Earnshaw late winner. I can't remember if it was against Portland or who it was, where
Oh, yes.
he'd come on, scored late, did his flip, and that was it. Now, I think it's huge that Krylak is back, available, got on the pitch, and made a contribution. That's massive.
Mhm.
They need him to be doing that on the regular.
And it looked like a huge relief the way he was celebrating.
Yeah.
Everyone was so delighted for him. And I think he needed that.
Yeah.
And like, we never got into the Whitecaps salaries when they were released a couple of weeks back. Things were just so busy. That's something else we can maybe look at in the next couple of weeks when the Whitecaps are off as well. But it's like he's the kind of guy that is worth every penny if he's going to come off the bench and get you match winners like that, or score goals that'll save you points and just earn you any points at all. It's like that's what they need. And I don't think he's going to be starting that many games, but having an in-form Damir Krylak is exactly what Brian White needs just now to put some. I was going to say to put some pressure on him. He obviously has pressure on him because he's not scoring, but he needs to be challenged.
Yeah.
And he knows right now, and we'll talk a bit more about Brian in the next part, but he knows that he's not playing well, but there's been nobody else that's going to come in and take his spot right now because Levante Johnson, he's not an out and out striker. He's more a winger. And like Vanny alluded to that yesterday, and there hasn't really been any out and out strikers. I really thought Fafa Pico may have got the nod up front with Ryan Gauld to start the game yesterday. But it was good him coming on at half time, and he just adds that spark that changes the game and changes the team's dynamic. And it was a much, again, the first half, it wasn't great from either side, but there it went in goalless. But we were messaging during the game, it could easily have been 2-2 because there was chances created.
Oh yeah.
Just went getting put away. And keepers came up with some saves. There was some missed opportunities, but it was an even first half. And Vanny said after the game that he felt the Whitecaps didn't deserve to lose in Colorado, but he felt Colorado didn't deserve to lose that game in Vancouver. But instead of both teams then getting 2 draws and getting 2 points, they've both now got a win and they've both got 3 points. So he said they've both got a bonus point now out of these games. So that's actually a nice way of looking at it.
Yeah, and a very interesting way to look at it.
And it's actually true, though, because as soon as he said that, I was thinking about it going, he makes a very good point there. I don't know what you were thinking. I messaged you at halftime. I was like, oh, this better not be another Austin 0-0.
Yeah.
Because on the back of stinking the place out against Miami, they got a good crowd in, just shy of 23,000, which amazed me, I've got to say, for a game against Colorado. But I was like, oh, don't do it again. Don't just disappoint these crowds, because we're at an important point of the season crowd-wise. The big games have gone. The Lions season's starting. Summer's coming and nicer weather. Folks got other things to do. It's like you want to show that this is a team that you want to turn up for. And I think the second half yesterday, and especially the ending, as we always say, you've sent them home happy. Fans will be buzzing and look forward to coming back to the next one, which sadly isn't for many weeks.
Yeah, that's the sad part. Was it Rob from Daily Hive who was tweeting out about the average attendance?
Possibly.
I think he said is just short of like 29, just over 29. So between 29 and 30, which again, obviously the Miami game plays a massive role
in that. It inflates it.
But again, if there isn't the residual negatives that that come from that match initially, like if they can get past that and whatever, it has the potential for, again, doing good for them, right? Like obviously the whole, hey, we're playing into Miami, Messi should be here, was huge for them, like the hugest thing attendance wise in the MLS era. And
I said last week I was worried that for some it would be irreparable damage to them.
And to be fair, if you look at some comments, for some it is. But
I saw an interesting thing on someone shared on one of the Facebook pages, a comment Axel made in December saying, oh, we're so excited that the world's greatest players coming to play in Vancouver.
Yeah.
And the person that shared this had left a comment then saying, you better have a guarantee, or you should say might be coming.
Yeah.
And he was proved correct.
You sure you didn't say best Scottish player?
Oh, I thought we were talking about Ryan Gauld.
Oh, there
you go. There is only one Messi.
There you go. Oh,
that matters.
There you go. But no, anyways, I agree with you. Nights like this last Saturday are helpful, right? Yeah, you get a win, you leave with a positive vibe experience.
Yeah, go into a 2-week break.
Well, but it makes you want to come back.
It does.
You want to come back, right? So,
well, the thing is, yesterday I was getting ready for the game, and I was like, oh, can't actually be arsed going down for this. If they'd lost on Wednesday, I might not have gone yesterday, because there's some other folk that just weren't feeling it and didn't go along to the game yesterday. But that is the kind of game that I went home, I was buzzing. We did a lot of stuff post game, had a few chats with people, and it is folk go home and they're like, they can't wait then to get to the next game. So they've got to try and build on that when they come back. The only thing in the first half really I want to talk about was the penalty decision, which VAR, I liked VAR for existing for this one, because that was never a penalty when we saw it live.
Well, yeah, I texted you right away and I was like, that's not a penalty.
And I so felt for Laborda coming off his
Yeah.
performance against Miami.
Yeah.
And then just he was the one that did that. There was one earlier where he got his pocket picked,
Yep.
and you're like, oh, this is not good for him if he's giving away a penalty here. But I mean, he just stood his ground. Interesting, when I got home, I was watching stuff again on the TSN panel. Kevin Kilban, who remember is an outfield player, was like, oh, that's a penalty for me. It's like Laborda checks him.
Yeah.
But yeah,
TSN helping to grow Canadian football by bringing Irish and British people to Canada to tell us how the game should be played.
he is a permanent resident.
Now he wasn't before. He came for a job.
I thought yeah, but he was, since he's been on TSN, he's been a permanent resident because he was getting a hard time during the Women's World Cup, and he said, "I'm a permanent resident here."
Yeah, but
Just like when I've been doing commentary as a permanent resident.
he would never have come to Canada if TSN didn't give him a job doing commentary.
Maybe. I
Right?
guess.
So if,
I mean, as a Canadian now, send him home.
yeah, exactly. No, but seriously, if you're talking about building the Canadian game, right, and growing things in the country, yes, you're going to have some level of, let's call them imports, and I don't say that in a derogatory way, right? You're going to have some level, but to me, that was not a place you needed one of them. To me, that reeked of a, hey, he got connected through other former players. Let's not name anyone, but other former players who would have said, "Oh, this is a great job, great opportunity, great lifestyle, great country. You should come, and I'll see if I can hook you up." Right? Like that's the vibe that comes from it, which is
Yeah, and
not ideal.
rightly or wrongly, there is still a thing like if you have an accent here, they automatically feel you know about football. And I'll be honest, that's how some doors
Yeah,
have opened for me.
totally.
But then they hear me and they know I'm fucking brilliant. So it's like it's totally fine. But no, I mean it is still that. But I think we can both agree it was not a penalty. And the referee,
No.
the inexperienced referee,
Yeah.
listened to his video review, and he took it a little bit longer than I think he needed to. But yeah,
Make sure you got it right, and I
yes,
think you got it right.
common sense.
Can I say one other thing about the Laborda thing? Not about him personally, but in the same way that Tessa Martino will have felt justified in leaving players home and then coming away from Vancouver with 3 points, I think Avanti Sartini can feel really pleased that he got to rest Ranko, and
Yeah.
he got 3 points, right?
It was interesting because there was two changes to the back line from Wednesday to Saturday. And that's a risk. Especially if you're just playing a back three and you're changing 2/3 of that is always a risk. One of the players I want to talk about in the next part is Javane Brown. I think he's come in and been fantastic.
Yeah,
And he seized his opportunity.
totally.
But there were some weird subs over the course of the game, though, that we were a little bit baffled by. But
There
at half
was.
time, like Fafa comes on for Tristan Blackman.
Yeah.
And that was the first of the weird ones. But
Yeah,
Alex,
but that was weird, right? Not bringing on Fafa and a goalless game to try and change things is not weird. It
no,
was the fact that it was for Blackman, and then I believe it was Luis
Martins
that
moved
was playing
back.
left center back.
Uh-huh.
Going back to last year when that was experimented or tried with, or it was a needs must situation. I can't remember which it was. It did not work then, and I don't think it was working in this game either, which is why he then changed Martins for, oh, who was it again? I'll tell you here 1 second. I got it open right in front of me. Martins. I do have it. Martins. Udvik
Oh,
came on
yes.
for
Yeah.
Martins in the 65th.
Yeah, which was a sensible sub.
Well, yeah, which was a far more sensible, tactical, positional personnel kind of decision to make. The other player who actually I think is important, maybe got some rest in this, not that he plays every minute, was Ryan Raposo.
Yeah.
I think another player that he wasn't trying to rest, but I think the fact that he got a night off is probably helpful for him in the long run.
The thing with the Blackman sub, Alex Gangu Ruzic, we were chatting at half time and he pointed something out that I hadn't seen. And then when I came home and watched it, I was like, oh, well picked up, Alex. on the chance just before the end when Takaoka has to make the leg save off Cabral.
Hmm.
Although I'm still not 100% sure it's Cabral and it wasn't Berhalter's foot that got to the ball before Cabral. I've
Yeah,
watched it several times and I really can't differentiate. One angle, I think it's Berhalter, one I think it's Cabral. Either way, great leg save by Takaoka. That play was set up by Blackman blowing his zonal position.
Mm.
And Vanny obviously right away was like, yep, don't like that. Let's make a change. And Blackman, as we've talked about, has had an up and down season. So wonder how that kind of affects him. Maybe a sub like that was always on the cards, and that just is a coincidence. But when you watch that back, it's like, oh yeah, Blackman gets badly burned in that play.
Is it I can't remember, maybe you said this on the last show, but then for you, is it the best back three if you're going with back if three center backs? Is it Ranko right this very moment, Michael? Is it Ranko, Udvik, and Brown?
I think it might be.
That's kind of interesting. No, I don't think many people. Well, yeah, I don't think anyone would recall that earlier in the year.
No, I mean for the longest time, I thought it was Utvik, Ranko, and Laborda.
Hmm.
But Brown's performances, for me, has him in the question anyway of rotation, and yeah, that is going to be an interesting one going forward, especially when we get more towards the business end of the season and you've got less changes coming because the games aren't coming as thick and fast. The good thing for the Whitecaps now is when they come back, they've got 3 weeks in a row where it's 1 game weeks.
That'll
Before
feel
July is horrendous.
Yeah, that'll feel like a breath of fresh air for them.
Yeah. But I mean, they came out on the front foot to start the second half, and within a minute, they had the lead. And it was a nice goal. Good work by Ali Ahmed out on the left. Plays it to Gold. Pinpoint delivery to the back post by Gold. And Berhalter times his run to perfection.
Yeah,
Really nice finish as well from
exactly.
Berhalter from a tight angle.
Yeah,
And I was very pleased for him because he'd had a good start to the season, had really dropped off in the last few games. But these last 2 matches, and again, we'll touch on this next part, but he's really come into his own. And that was his first goal of the season. And he took it so well.
yeah. I think I texted you right when it happened, and I was just like, "Yeah, wonderful run, quality finish," and the 2 assists from Gold in this game again show signs of his creativity, show the signs of him being able to make those passes for for key chances. And
Although I think the second one he was going for goal and just didn't get the power on it. I don't know that was a pass to Demir.
Okay, yeah, that's
Either way, it's an assist.
yeah. Either way, he'll take it.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it was great to have the lead, and you're like, whoa, here we go. But 4 minutes the lead lasted for before some horrible defending. Fernandez did so well to get the ball, set that chance up. Then he centres it to Jordi Mihailovic, who had come into this game with 10 goal contributions in the last 10 matches, made it 11 from 11. He took it well, nice finish. Nothing I don't think Takoka could have done to stop that. But Martins was just caught flat-footed, and he kind of went, the ball came, and Mihailovic is in a little bit of room, and then he just takes a little touch to his left, and Martins just can't react, gives him the space to fire home, and you're like, the good work at the start just undone right away.
Yeah, it was like almost taking the winds out of their sails, right? Like they come out, they get the goal, you feel like they're in a good spot, and then it was like, oh no, back to square one.
And just a few minutes after that, Faf had a great chance that his shot just went to the back post and didn't miss by much. But then after that, both teams had their chances, but from about the midway point of the second half to just before the goal, to me, the only team that you thought was maybe going to score was Colorado, because they weren't forcing saves out of Taka, but they were having chances. They were just going wide, past the right post, past the left post, and you think one of these or a header's going to have a bit more power. And you thought one of these at some point they're going to connect with and they're going to grab the winner here. And I was worried because they are a good team and they've turned it on. It kind of caught me by surprise, really. The Whitecaps then went up the pitch and grabbed the winner. game goes into stoppage time, I still think Gold was going for the shot and just maybe didn't fully have the power on it, but it comes through to Demir in front of goal. Now, he's still got a lot of work to do because his back's to goal. So he spins round, gets the shot. Stefan does so well to take the sting out of it, but just not enough. And despite Sam Vines' best attempt to try and get back and clear it, trickles over the line, which in the stadium felt like it took an age. And I'd asked Vanny that after the game. But then when I got home and I watched it, it's like, oh, it wasn't that long after all. But live, it felt like that was just crawling over the line.
Yeah. As it first goes under and you're like, oh, this was my, and you're like, no, there's no chance. This is rolling and they're not going to get this. Yeah, it was good for Krylak. You can only imagine the boost to his confidence.
Yeah,
from that finish. Yeah,
he's such a nice guy off the pitch as well. Just chatting to him, and he's such a good player. If we can even get like 75% of the Krylak from RSL when he's banging it in 2021, it's like, take that. And as I said at the start, if we can get a guy like him coming off the bench and popping up with crucial goals that either win matches or save points or puts the game to bed, he is worth every single penny. But we need somebody else that comes in up front. Yeah,
I was talking about this today with some people, and it's, I think Brian White, and Levante are all different kinds of attackers. You know, Demir is kind of your straight. He's going to be right up front, or maybe behind another like a Brian White. But then you got Gold. So for them, he's kind of just right up front. Levante can be up front or on the wing if Vanny prefers, not wing, but to the inside channel. Vanny prefers him, not centrally. And then you have White, who Vanny likes centrally, but will use in behind as well. And it feels like they need another player who can be that can challenge White and Krylak to be that center forward, and maybe is their secondary position is the right side, right? So you have Levante on the left, and you have them a new player on the right, and it kind of completes the options for Vanny. But you just hope that would also be a player of very high quality, DP or U20 or U22 or whatever, like level player.
I mean, it's going to be the question that gets to Axel the next time he does speak to media here, which I'm sure will be after the break as well. But it's crazy to think, like the Whitecaps, that was their 16th game, so they're not quite at the halfway point of the season. But we're at the 1st of June and the MLS season's at the halfway point. That just blew my mind when I realised that yesterday. Oh, because there's another 6 months until the MLS Cup.
Yeah, right. But you have your, agenda, driven Leagues Cup. And
then playoffs interrupted by international break, but it's crazy though. It's like it's the 1st of June and we're halfway through the regular season.
Yeah,
but we've got more Whitecaps chat to come. We'll pick over a few of the individuals. We will look and round up the action around MLS West. And we'll bring you an interview that we did after the match yesterday. All that's to come in part 2. And we'll be back with that after we take you back to 1974.
Hi, I'm Damir Krylak, and you're guys listening to AFTN Soccer Show.
Well, everybody knows down Ladbroke Grove, you have to leap across the street. You can lose your life under a taxi cab. You gotta have eyes in your feet. You find a nice soft corner and you sit right down, take up your guitar and play. But then the lawman comes, says move along, and so you move along all day. Well, I'm a one-man band. Nobody knows nor understands. Is there anybody out there wanna lend me a hand to my one-man band? For 3 days now I haven't eaten at all. My must begin so thin. Soon my cap won't be large enough to drop a half a crown in. So hey there, mister, don't you look so sad, don't look so ill at ease, when I can play you any song you like to cheer up that life you lead. Oh, I'm a one-man band, nobody knows nor understands. Is there anybody out there wanna lend me a hand to my one-man band?
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM. Brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And it was 70s night at BC Place on Saturday. So we are taking you back to 1974, a little bit earlier than usual on the show. That was a song that entered the UK charts this week 50 years ago. English singer-songwriter Leo Sayer, his single One Man Band, it peaked at number 6 in the UK charts. Interestingly, to me anyway, he actually wrote that song the year before for Roger Daltrey from The Who for one of his solo albums, and then Leo Sayer recorded it himself in 1974, got a bigger hit than Roger Daltrey with it, and it features on Leo Sayer's second album, Just a Boy. So this week in Whitecaps land 50 years ago, Zach, something special happened on the afternoon of Sunday, June the 9th. Can you guess what it was?
Sorry, 50 years ago on June 9th?
Yep.
First away victory?
No, but it was a first. It was the first ever
Hat-trick?
Cascadian derby between
nice.
Vancouver and Seattle Sounders.
Oh, that's lovely.
Played at Empire Stadium in front of 11,258 fans. And when I give you a little bit about the match report from this one, Zach, you might think the more things change, the more things stay the same. Because
wait, the Founders fans stole stuff?
No, I was thinking more on-pitch stuff.
Oh, okay.
The Whitecaps outshot Seattle by, according to the Province report, an eyebrow-raising 27 shots to 7.
Oh.
What do you think the final score was?
3-2 Vancouver.
2-0 Seattle. Yeah,
I thought you were setting me up to...
No, it didn't go well, unfortunately, for the Whitecaps in this. They dominated the game. They just peppered the Seattle goal. But in the end, goals from David Butler and Jimmy Gabriel gave Seattle the 2-0 win. 3 Vancouver-based players on the Sounder squad as well, just rubbing salt in the wounds. Players that the Whitecaps had tried to sign, but chose to sign for Seattle instead. Even making things worse, this week 50 years ago, the Sounders had a midweek win that had already consigned the Whitecaps to the bottom of the Western Conference, and then this just cemented that even further. Other stuff that happened this week 50 years ago as well, it was announced that Canada Soccer were going to be taking a camp in July that was going to take a lot of players away from the Whitecaps. Because I've talked about this in previous shows. There's been battles between the Whitecaps and Canadian soccer as to who owned the rights to the players. And even though they were amateur players, they had Canada Soccer had the right to call them up for the games. There wasn't like FIFA international windows back then. So the Whitecaps lost a number of players in the coming weeks as well. And it wasn't a great inaugural season for the Whitecaps, and that was just really summed up by that 2-0 defeat by the Sounders on June 9th. But that was this week in Whitecaps land, 1974. We're going to bring you straight back into the present right now and continue chatting about much happier times in Whitecaps land on the back of back-to-back wins. 2-1 win on Saturday against Colorado. And if you look at where the Whitecaps are sitting right now, Zach, they're 5th in the Western Conference standings. 25 points from their 16 games, 1.56 points per game. So on course for a 53-point season. I asked Vanny about that after the game on Saturday, and he talked about in his first 2 seasons, they've reached 49 points. And when you look at what you need to finish in the top 4, 53, if they were to achieve that, would certainly see a top 4 finish based on previous years. But of course, you can't go too much in that because there's always been some runaway teams at the top in those previous years. But to achieve that, they are going to need to improve in their home form. So at least that win against Colorado, it was massive in many regards. It was 2 teams that had gone into the game level in points. If Colorado had won it, they'd have jumped above the Whitecaps. If the week had gone really bad for the Whitecaps, they could have been 9th going into this international break. Instead, they're now sitting in 5th. They are 8 points off first place, but they've got a 7-point cushion over the team in 10th place outside the playoff spots as well. So it's been a good little turnaround after a bit of a blip. And we're not quite at the halfway stage, but we're going to kind of treat it as this. How do you sum up the first half of the season for the Whitecaps?
That's really difficult. I'm thankful that you didn't say do it in 5 words. It feels like a mixed bag, right? Like there are a number of positive, like you said, number of points and away record, fans in the stands. Aside from the Miami match and a little bit of underperformance in some of those other big games, it's been, I think, a really positive vibe around the club, which has been, I think, really, really great for them. But it also feels like, missed opportunities, right? Like there's so many games where they didn't take points. They left points on the board that they should have taken. And so you're left with this kind of feeling of they're going to rue this later.
Yeah. Well, they've dropped 13 points at home.
Yeah, that
is massive in a league like this where it's tough to get results on the road. Now, the Whitecaps have flipped things around, and it's like they are getting results on the road. Aside from that, really poor performance at LAFC. Although when you look at how LAFC have pushed on since then, in which they're on a 5-game winning run and they haven't conceded a goal, and that was all kicked off with that 3-0 win over the Whitecaps.
Yeah.
It kind of puts it in perspective and maybe isn't as bad. The home form is baffling. We've talked about it before, so we won't delve into it too much. And for me, that's been the biggest disappointment in the first half of the season. But I do agree with you. It does feel a little bit like missed opportunities. But when you look back just a few weeks ago, well, maybe more than a few weeks now, but we were looking at the Supporters' Shield standings and the Whitecaps were sitting second in MLS, but first in points per game. Going into this weekend, they were down in 11th in the Supporters' Shield standings, and the win just takes them up to 9th. But it's like how the mighty have fallen. That's free fall stuff.
Yeah.
But have they stemmed this fall? Have they kind of steadied the ship a little bit with these 2 results? Do we even know what the real Whitecap side is yet this year?
Again, I think full credit to them for getting these 6 points, but these can't be definitive 6 points, right? Like Kansas City is in a like an unrecognizable way. Like they're like, I feel like we've never seen them in I know the last year they had some issues too, but this year it feels like really
somehow feels worse this year.
Yeah. So that you can't use that match as a barometer. And then again, Colorado is not a team that typically does well away from home. And I think Vanny's comments that you referenced earlier in terms of, hey, probably should have been a draw either way. And so it's kind of like a bonus point for each team is, probably not that unfair. But again, not something you would gauge the rest of the campaign by. So this is, it's like they've stopped the bleeding, but you're like, you don't know if there's still damage inside. I guess, you know what I mean? Like, is there still internal bleeding that you can't see? Because they've definitely stopped it. They've turned things around. The other thing I want to say about the Miami game, and we did talk about this a little bit at the time, and it was frustrating because it was like the third game of those the golden match packs or whatever, right, where
Yeah.
they kind of came out flat and kind of underperformed regardless of the result. The performance wasn't good, I don't think, in any of those three games that I can thinking about them just in retrospect. But I feel like the Miami one was such a missed opportunity, right? Because it was a frustrating occasion for everyone, right? Like even the people we referenced this before with Andrew Del Bar's kind of spectrum of people, even with the people who are like, hey, no, this is about my team and my team winning or whatever, they still didn't feel good about it. And they definitely didn't feel good about it in the end because of the performance and then the result. I feel like that game, like that whole situation could have some salvaging aspect to it had they put Miami to the sword. Had they been able to like
Yep.
get the points from the Manny and say, one, we got the points, what we needed, and screw you for screwing our, plans to
Yeah, that was the biggest
grow
FU
grow.
back to Miami.
Yeah, I wanted to say grow the game, but that's maybe controversial in terms of the whole Messi coming. But grow the fan base or grow the ticket numbers or the attendance numbers for the year at least. You know what I mean? But yeah, had they won
I
that
just
game,
wanted
I
them to
think
put
things
on
would
a
have so
show,
different.
though, just to show the fans this is what your home
Yes.
team is capable
Yeah.
of. And that
Totally.
was the disappointing aspect for me.
Yeah.
And that's been the disappointing aspect for every game where they've got a big crowd in, it feels.
Totally.
They just haven't, aside from the go home or stoppage time winner, oh, that's always going to excite fans thing from Saturday, these games have been so flat at BC Place for whatever reason. And they
Yeah.
need to try and find out what it is because that's 7 down. They've still got 10 to go at BC Place.
Because that is a part of the other criticism that gets lobbed at them is the performance or quality of play or style of play. For those who view football differently than you and I do, who view it from an entertainment perspective, strictly or primarily, it hasn't been very entertaining, right? And so, again, that's one way to look at it. But there are a significant amount of people who view it that way, and so when you add in these other issues, the Miami thing or the underperformances, it doesn't help them in the long run.
No.
Or in the moment, it feels like it's not helping them in the long run.
They are going to get the chance to try and win over some of these fans if they take up the offer of getting a free ticket to a future game. So if you had 4 tickets from Miami, you'll get 4 tickets for a future game. If you had the 1, you'll get 1. And it was
Yeah.
announced this week that I'd initially been told that it was going to be a limited number of games you could pick from. It doesn't appear to be per se. You have to kind of rank in the order of preference of what games you want to go to. And it'll depend on availability, and they'll try and meet people's top priority games, which is the better way of doing it. And I like them doing it that way.
And again, that's going to help with attendance for the season as a whole,
Yeah.
right?
Because, I mean, let's be honest, you could easily just, if everyone wanted a ticket for the Canadian Championship final, let's just pick that as an example. If they get there, you could open up the upper bowl and give everyone that wanted a ticket a free ticket.
Yeah, potentially, for sure. Yeah.
But
Which would be great for that occasion as well.
yeah, I think it's league games that they're getting to pick from. So if everyone wanted a ticket for an LAFC game or the last game of the season, you could easily accommodate everyone. So hopefully everyone's first preferences, or at least first or second, will be able to be met. But I like them doing it that way. So credit to them for doing that. So they've had 2 defeats on the road. But aside from that, you've got to ask, is it sustainable? Now, their next 2 games, when they return from the break, are on the road. So they're playing the worst team in the MLS when they come back. New England, 10 points from the season so far. They're bottom of the East. They're bottom of all of MLS. How bad are they? They have less points than Sporting Kansas City. That's how bad. Just 1, but still. So you'd hope with their away form that New England's in, the fact that you always want to stick it to Caleb Porter, that should hopefully make them reach the halfway point with an extra 3 points, which would be even better for our points per game total and potential. But we've talked about all year, we know clubs are going to be adding in the summer transfer window. Clubs are already starting to announce players that they're adding now. And you just hope the Whitecaps don't get left behind there.
Yeah, that's for real. Now, New England did win this weekend, right?
I didn't look at their result in the
Yeah,
East. Let me have a look.
I'm pretty sure they won 2-1 against Nashville.
I watched all the Western games and I saw a couple of the Eastern ones, but I did not see that.
I saw some of
Oh, you know what? I saw a little bit of that on 360. Yeah, it was a 2-1 victory. I did
Yeah.
see a little bit of that on 360, which again was driving me absolutely crazy by interrupting folk constantly just to go to something that's happened in a game. And as I said before when we talked about this, let the person make their point. It doesn't matter if you go 15 seconds later
Yeah.
to show the goal.
You can control it.
Yeah. As long as you don't update the graphic on the screen, no one's going to know what's happened. It was really, really pissing me off yesterday.
It's all in your control.
Yeah, everything is under MLS's control, including the Canadian head coach. It's in the job title. It must be true.
As bad as it was for you to start the show with that, hey, I got you a picture of you at BC Place. I am very thankful that you didn't start with that calling me whatever sponsor. But
Well, I was originally going to say, no, say what you are.
yeah,
Northern Super League AFTN co-host.
we both know that's not true. That's not what
Yes.
you were going to call me. But it was funny today because I was hanging out with people to watch the Vancouver FC game, and Brendan. That's what Brendan said. He's like, "Oh, hey, so and so." He just chose a sponsor. Like, "Hey, so a podcaster," and I was like, for a minute, I was like, "What's he talking about?" And I was like, "Oh, that's like."
Oh, I hope this
You gotta-
catches on.
Yeah, no, it's not catching on.
The Barley Merchant AFTN co-host.
Well, that's at least better.
Yeah, well, if we can get, hey, work on that sponsorship for when we're looking for a new one at the end of July. Back to the Whitecaps. So there's a lot for Vanny to think about getting into the second half of the season. One is formation. And as we touched on in the first part, a lot of folk are wanting four at the back. He is not going to switch to four at the back. I think 3-5-2 might be the best tinkering we can hope for.
Yeah.
Unless there are additions made that make four at the back the way to go, it's going to be 3-5-2. What I've liked, though, about this 3-5-2, and I asked Sebastian Berhalter this after the Colorado game, but unfortunately, his audio and video wasn't working very well, so I don't think it actually made the finished article, and I only got about half to 2/3 of his reply, but I got the gist of it. Berhalter likes the five midfield because he feels it kind of frees him up a little bit more to do more. And I think we've seen that in the last two games, although he was playing in a kind of wing role at times in the game against Colorado, but it did seem to give him a new lease of life. And for me, Javane Brown at the back and Seb Berhalter, outside of Ryan Gauld, obviously, were the two standout players in these two wins for the Whitecaps over the past week.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're not wrong.
We just need to let it get very clear to Sebastian, you should not be taking free kicks. He cannot get them over the wall. At least hit it with one of his thunderbolt shots and hurt the guy. But his free kicks have been atrocious.
Yeah, who would be your right-footed free kick taker then?
Anyone but Sebastian Berhalter right now.
Does Raposo take some corners occasionally?
He can take them, yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like...
Because obviously Gold is your primary, but he's left-footed. So than that, it's nice to have a solid right footer.
If you want Sebastian to have a shot, what you should be doing is like rolling the ball to him to let him have a shot, because by that time as well, the wall has broken up.
Yeah.
And like Alex Gangu Ruzic again, I always refer to Alex, assuming everyone knows who we're talking about, but I should always add the other name. So we were chatting and he had an interesting stat that he had been looking into, that if you look at the amount of wasted opportunities for free kicks right on the edge of the box, they're hardly ever scored. And why are clubs still going
Why
for
are
those kicks?
going directly to goal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why not just lay it off or try and
Yeah,
chip it to the back or whatever?
because the skill of getting the ball up and over the wall and down is so difficult that you're
Yeah,
right.
and 18 yards, it's like it just doesn't give you. Like in the women's game, I was coming in, commentating on today. One of the altitude players did exactly the same thing, but she'd hit it high instead of straight into the wall. But 2 yards back, and that would have dipped in. And it's like it's so hard to get it up and over from right on the edge of the box. So I would prefer, if they want Sebastian to have the shot, just play it to him. Like even Gold plays it back 2, 3, 5 yards to Berhalter, who just wellies it. And you're either going to take players out, they're going to put their hands up because it's an automatic reaction when the ball's coming towards you, or the wall's broken, there's space, and it's going to get through. I think that's better than just trying to go for the shot because they've been so ineffective at those.
Yeah, no, I don't disagree with you. I think you're right.
That's my only real criticism from Berhalter across the season. He did have a few wobbles when he was covering for Kubis, and we spoke. It's like you really notice the difference when Kubis is not in that team. And it's great that Kubis has got the call up for Paraguay as well ahead of the Copa. It'd be a loss for the Whitecaps to lose him, but it's such a great opportunity for him if he can get into that Paraguay squad for the actual tournament itself. No Whitecaps called up for that squad. That was an interesting one. Everyone was like, oh, it's all going to be biased towards the MLS teams because they've paid money to it. Clearly not. But if you look at the form of Ali Ahmed, as much as we're big fans of Ali, we've spoken about it, he hasn't been at the top of his game. So it makes sense he didn't make the squad this time. And obviously, Sam still not good to go. So unfortunately, he
what's
missed out.
What's the timeline on Sam?
Vanny had hoped he was going to be back for this game. Now he's hoping he'll be good for New England.
Okay.
But they need him.
But the problem, though, I feel like so many times he comes back and then it's like he's not fully fit and then breaks down.
I think they don't want to rush him back for that reason, and it's sensible. It's like you want him to come back fully healthy so there's not a breakdown. Now, there could still be a breakdown.
Because when you think about him in 2023, he was so pivotal down the stretch and even scoring. Did he score like a goal from a corner or a free kick or something?
He got a header, did he not?
Yeah, he got a header. Yeah. It was crazy.
But yeah, him on one side, Larray on the other, it's like we've badly missed that. I have liked the play of Bovalina. Since Giuseppe's come in, Vanny said he's still kind of finding his way with the system. So he's still learning what he needs to do, what his role needs to be. He came on as a sub for WFC2 today as well, so he's getting some minutes under his belt. So it will take him a little bit of time to get up to speed. But the flashes that I've seen from him, I've liked him when he's been playing more advanced, whereas he's more used to playing more like fullback or wing back, but he's been playing advanced and he's looked not bad. When they eventually got the ball to him in the Cavalry game, he was actually doing well, but he was just standing like calling for the ball at times and it was just not coming to him. Because I had said, it's just been invisible. And it's like, yeah, because he's not got the ball and they're not playing it out to him. That's why. And one last thing to mention about Bovalina, a fantastic goal line clearance in the game against Colorado on Saturday that as much as Damir Krylak's goal earned the 3 points, that goal line clearance from Bovalina also earned the 3 points. Although Greg Petrie pointed out that he felt as good a clearance as it might have been, it was because Bovalina had been caught out to begin with, which was forcing him to come back. Nonetheless, though, it was great recovery play from the Aussie and definitely a play that helped the Whitecaps get that big win in the end and the 3 important points. But I've liked what I've seen from him. So we'll see. We know there needs to be some additions and we'll kind of see how all of that plays out. So that's it for kind of looking at where the Whitecaps are as they approach the halfway point of their season. For some in the MLS West, they are already at the halfway point, the 17 games. And I think we'll break this part into 2 parts. We're going to do it just as a 3-part show. Let's make it a 4-part show. And we'll be back looking at the comings and goings around MLS West after this.
Hi, I'm Javian Brown, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
Their eyes are dripping with fire, so cold that everything's burning. But I can stay and admire one hidden ivory falling. Now I see their bodies in fluid, running like a mouse in bad weather. Nothing can stop them from doing it. My tears are the best paid ever. I'll let her die, get into fight. Boys never cry, boys never cry. And that is why I'm staying inside. Boys never cry, boys never cry. With every punch, feel less alone. Real human touch, can't have it on my own. Мне не холодно, но я замерзаю. Это запах воды знакомый. Даже солнце не согревает. Потерялись ключи от дома. I'll let her die, get into fight. Boys never cry, boys never cry. And that is why I'm staying inside. Boys never cry, boys never cry.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. Check them out for all your family legal needs. So we've made this into a 4-part show now, and it actually gives me a chance to play a song I've been wanting to play for a couple of weeks. It's from one of the 2 members of Ice Peak. Regular listeners will know how much I love the Russian band. They've got a new single coming out actually on June 4th, so watch out for that. They've definitely got a much more milder melodic sound for the stuff that they're releasing this year. But that is the first solo single from Nick from the band, released under the moniker Sputnik, with the I being the number 1, much like in Ice Peak, the E is the number 3. And that is his debut solo single, Boys Never Cry. But I'm sure there was some tears shed this past weekend in Major League Soccer, and we'll kind of cast our eye over the comings and goings in the MLS West, but we'll also look at the 2 Canadian teams and how they fared recently going into the international break as well out in the East. If we kind of look around the MLS West, I don't know how much you've seen this weekend.
I've seen highlights of I think everything.
I watched all the highlights of the Western games this morning, apart from Portland Houston. I realised that just now.
Oh.
I've missed that one. I didn't see that one. That was a 2-2.
Yeah, that was quite interesting.
And then I watched 360. So I saw a lot of the stuff as it was happening. So an interesting thing, the Whitecaps, if we look at it from the 8 days, Saturday to Saturday, but just refer to it as a week, just for ease, as opposed to constantly saying 8 days, all the teams in the West, apart from San Jose, Seattle, and St. Louis, played 3 matches in a week, 3 in the 8 days. San Jose, Seattle, and St. Louis played 2. So LAFC had a 9-point week.
Yeah.
Portland had a 7-point week. But then the Whitecaps and the Galaxy both had 6-point weeks. So it shows you just how good and how important it was for the Whitecaps. A lot of results went the Whitecaps' way as well. But teams at the top are starting to kind of pull away a little bit. RSL got 5, Minnesota 4, Seattle got 4 from their 2 games, Austin 2, St. Louis just 1 from their 2 games, Colorado, Dallas, Houston, and San Jose also just got 1, and no points for KC from their 3 matches in the week, which just added to their issues. But if we look at some of the games, we'll just look at the Saturday games in the West. Let me just go back and get those up. So we'll cover the two Canadian teams at the end of this as well in the East. But from Western point of view, it started off with Miami 3, St. Louis 3, and a lot of that was played in the 360. That was a fantastic game.
That was crazy, yeah.
I watched bits of it on its own, and I watched bits of it on 360. I'll be honest, and you might call me a bitter old man, but I was watching it in the hope that Messi and Suarez would go over in their ankles, hurt themselves, and miss Copa. Sadly, that does not look like this happened.
Oh, Michael.
Suarez was really pissing me off, though. Just his bitching. Referee called him over. He wouldn't go over. Like, I'm too big to go over to you. And the referee's like, no, you are coming over to me. And yeah, I don't know. I've never liked Suarez as a player. Like him even less now that he skipped Vancouver. It's hard to hate Messi just because he's so good. And he was pivotal again for Miami. But much like Montreal, although it didn't work for Montreal in the end, St. Louis showed that if you go toe-to-toe with Miami, you can really put them under pressure. And that is a very good point for St. Louis in this.
Totally.
Next up, LA Galaxy took the lead in Chicago, who were on a really bad winless run. But Chicago came back in this one with 2 goals to come away with a 2-1 victory. The Galaxy are going to feel that they let this one go. But it was good fighting performance by Chicago, and it's nice when the teams go out east and drop points from a Whitecaps perspective. Minnesota 3, Kansas City 1. And aside from a banger from
it was.
Johnny
I was going
Russell,
to ask you if you saw this. Yeah.
Yeah, to make it 3-1. Oh, KC looked terrible in this again.
But Johnny's shot, you must have enjoyed that.
Yeah, that was the highlight. I definitely think the Whitecaps should make a play for him to bring him here. Give him a new lease of life, reunite him with his Dundee United teammate, Ryan Gauld.
How old is he now, though, Michael?
He's 34, 35, I think. Let me have a look.
Yeah,
Definitely in the high 30s. You need veterans. His family is very well settled, though, in Kansas, I've got to say.
They love the...
Yes, he is 34.
They love the barbecue?
I don't know, when the last time I spoke to him, he just said just how settled his family were. They love it there. They love the lifestyle there.
The barbecue lifestyle.
I mean, why would you not like Southern barbecue? Whenever I've had it, and I had it in, I want to say North Carolina. Is that where Raleigh, Durham is? Or is that South Carolina? Wherever the Railhawks played anyway, when I went to see the Whitecaps play there in 2012.
Oh, wow.
That was after the Mickey Mouse tournament. They had a friendly there.
Oh, yeah.
So we flew there and I went to the game. We had amazing Southern barbecue there. It was absolutely fantastic.
Yeah, that's North Carolina.
I thought I was always get that a little bit mixed up, but Minnesota just put KC to the sword, and yeah, they're just playing some really nice football just now as well.
Yeah,
big 5-1 win for RSL against Austin.
Dude, did you see this?
I watched the highlights. Yeah,
that goal.
Oh, Chicho's goal from the halfway line. Yes, it was a hat trick for Chicho Rangel. We'll throw that in from the start. But yeah, that was a thing of beauty.
Because it wasn't one of those ones where you're like, oh, it's a counter attack and the keeper was out. It's like he gets the ball inside his half, pauses for a moment, and like and there's lots of players behind the ball, right? It wasn't a counter attack or anything. And he just looks up. He's like, what the heck?
Yeah, he just takes a couple of casual touches. Yeah. It's like, oh, this is on.
Yeah, this is on. I'll just have a go.
I mean, Ryan's tried that against Colorado, and Brian White's tried stuff like that. But it's like, it goes back to what I was saying, football IQ.
Mm-hmm.
When you've got players like that, they look up, see that, make it look so, I'm not going to go for that. And then just send it forward. And it's a good keeper he beat as well.
If you're listening to this, you haven't watched it, search that up.
Yeah. I mean, Arango in this game, just in general, was immense again.
Salt Lake versus Austin. Yeah. Him alone is going to, again, carry them very far this year.
Yeah.
And remember, they're doing this with Zach McMath and goal.
I know. He didn't get the clean sheet though.
No, he filthied that sheet.
Yeah. But I mean, RSL flying. I won't wax lyrical about how much I like watching them again, but if you watch the highlights of this one, it's hard not to enjoy them. They're
Yeah.
just playing such lovely stuff just now. And
Same with LAFC.
yeah, and as I mentioned, they're now on a 5-game winning streak since beating the Whitecaps. 5 clean sheets in that as well for Hugo Lloris. And they
He
dominated Dallas in this one.
he also made a save. He almost got chipped from half, and he got back and tipped it over the bar.
Yes.
Or from
Yeah, that was
distance,
one
maybe
of
not half.
Dallas's few shots. Oh, I actually meant to click into that just to see how many actual shots on target Dallas had, because the initial, it's like 7-minute highlights packages.
Oh
The
yeah,
initial 4 minutes or 5 minutes, it was just Ellie, Ellie, Ellie.
yeah.
And
It
you're
was
like, are
crazy.
Dallas in this game? But they couldn't get the breakthrough. And the crazy thing is the possession's 50-50. Yet Dallas had 3 shots on goal. And one was a tip over, and there was 2 late ones after they'd gone one behind, where they kind of just started to take it in the last 10 minutes to
Yeah,
LAFC.
and that's LAFC's 17 and 10 on target.
Yeah. But Buanga with a winner.
Oh,
And this goes back to why I'm saying the Whitecaps have to look at stuff like Buanga and Chicharrango and the difference makers that these teams have. And they need to find a guy like this that's willing to come and play on turf, which is a challenge in itself, I do admit. But it's like teams, like no team is a one-man team. Even Miami with Messi, he can't do it all himself because you've still got defenders that will let goals in, as you see in a 3-3 game.
Hmm.
But when you've got a guy, and you can discount Messi because he's something special, but when you've got other guys like Arango, Buanga, Hani Mukhtar, Cucho, all these guys, it's like it just adds that little bit of added spark to your team, and you always feel that even if you're not finding the breakthrough like LAFC in this game, just takes a moment of magic from that star guy, and you're going to get the win. And like Ryan can do that, but these other teams also have perhaps better support and cast around their star guys, which we need to then. I thought we had a good team, but we need to be even better.
yeah.
Now,
You're not wrong.
I, as I mentioned, didn't see the Houston Dallas game, not the Houston, the Portland
Oh, yeah.
Houston game. So, did you see the highlights of this one?
I saw the highlights. Yeah, it was a pretty good game. I think Houston scored first, and then Portland leveled. Houston took the lead again, which Crepeau was livid about, and then a later on equalizer from Portland to make things level.
I mean, they're in a good run now after it really looked like Phil Neville could be on the way out. And it all stems from that controversial sending off against San Jose that then got rescinded. And it's like harking back to the whole fine lines and small margins things. It is these little things. It's things like that that can suddenly change a season for a club, for a manager. And they're running with it, and they're now up to 9th. They're in the playoff positions. And in 2 games' time, the Whitecaps go down there. I'm heading down for that. It's going to be my first game in Portland for what feels like an age. So it's my first time heading down there since the riots as well. So curious to see how many of the old haunts are still standing, what it looks like down there. I've had feedback from people saying it's not as bad as some of the YouTube videos and stuff make out, but you can tell it is a little bit different than it was in the past.
I forgot too. I think Portland could have won this game too, because I think they hit the woodwork like 2 or 3 times at the latter stages of the game. So they were really, really, really pressing for it.
But looking at the standings in the West, Salt Lake out on top on 33 points from 17. LAFC just 3 behind now, but with a game in hand. Minnesota 28, Galaxy 28, then Vancouver in 5th on 25, Austin on 23, Houston on 22, Colorado 22, Portland 20. And you look at those 4 alone, and you're like, well, none of them are better than the Whitecaps. I'm not saying they're worse, but it's very eeksy-peeksy with all those teams. Whitecaps can easily beat them. They can easily beat the Whitecaps. So still a lot to play for positioning-wise. If you look at the top 4, Salt Lake, LAFC, Minnesota, and the Galaxy, do feel a little bit of a class above the rest just now in the West.
Yeah, I think that's fair, and therefore, yeah, a little bit beyond the Whitecaps at this moment.
But Whitecaps win their game in hand and they're level on points with the Galaxy and with Minnesota. Minnesota, though, have a game in hand on the Whitecaps.
Yeah, but yeah, I was sorry, I wasn't speaking in terms of points. I was speaking in terms of like quality
Oh,
and
yeah.
squad depth and strength and all that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah.
Now the Whitecaps, as we've said many times, can remedy that if they so choose.
Well, you look at Minnesota, they've got a guy that always loved watching him in the championship and in the Premier when he was with Norwich and Pookie.
Yeah.
He's on the bench yesterday and they can put up a 3-1 victory with ease against KC.
You didn't like watching Pookie in the Bundesliga?
I don't watch Bundesliga. Why would I watch anything to do with the Bundesliga?
No.
I nearly did watch the Division 3 relegation game because it came up in my YouTube recommendation for some bizarre reason. I believe it went to a penalty shootout. But the fact that the video was 3 hours and they showed a guy saving a penalty.
Are you talking about from the Bundesliga to the second division?
It said Division 3 relegation, so I don't know if it was 3-4.
Oh, that one I don't think I saw. But you're talking about YouTube. Yeah, I don't think I saw that. But dude, the Fortuna Düsseldorf Bochum relegation playoff was amazing. Like it was crazy. Bochum lost 3-0 at home. Then they go to Fortuna and they win 3-0 away.
Oh,
and it goes to a shootout and they win. It was crazy. And they before the series, they announced our starting keeper who's been he's for years been key at getting them into Bundesliga, keeping them there. They're like, yeah, he is not going to play in this series. I don't know, it was sort of like a suspension, but they didn't call it a suspension, but it was like, yeah, it was like he understood it and they were going to have a discussion at the end of the season, whatever. So they had brought in earlier this year, they brought in a guy named Lute, a keeper who this is in fact, I think this was his final professional football match was to allow these 3 goals, then get a clean sheet and make a save or 2 in the shootout that saw Bochum stay in the Bundesliga.
Wow, what a way to go out there.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, totally. And then talking to my Bayern friends, of course, they're very happy because they very much enjoy the friendship with Bochum. And they talk about how there's no experience like going as a Bayern fan to Bochum, or you're going to, how did my buddy Flo put it? You're at the away stadium and people look at you and smile and greet you warmly and welcome you, right? Usually it's like people avoid you or antagonistic towards you or whatever. Whereas Bochum, it's like, no, there's this legitimate like friendliness between the supporters, the hardcore supporters of the club.
I've seen enough films where Germans smiling are very creepy. That's all I'll say on that.
Oh, Michael.
Just to wrap up looking at the MLS West, though, if you look at the teams below the line, like Seattle's on 18, St. Louis on 17, they're still in the mix. And I know it's early, and some of these teams have games in hand, but Dallas on 13, San Jose on 11, and Kansas City on 11, they're almost getting cast adrift. So you're kind of looking at perming 9 from 11 for the playoff spots. So that makes the Whitecaps' job a little bit easier. Obviously, they're focusing on the mythical top 4. That wasn't the exact word Vanny used. I can't remember, but it was like everyone wants this top 4 because you want to get the home advantage in the playoffs. But it's looking good for the Whitecaps just now.
We've talked a lot about how you cannot, at this point in the season, write off Seattle or even Portland.
No. Oh, well, I mean, Portland right now sitting 9th, so they could go up or down. Yeah. And it all just depends, I think, on how good Neville is as a coach for them.
But I also think that Dallas,
they just looked so bad against LA, but then so did we.
Dallas could do the opposite of what they used to do. They used to always come out so strong, flying, put all these points on the board, and then they nosedive at the end of the year. And I mean, when Jesus Ferreira is your center forward, Michael, you can always be saved, right?
Hey, I like you making those jokes. Let's just round off this part by quick chat about the other 2 Canadian teams. I saw the Philly-Montreal game play out on 360.
Yeah.
and Montreal took the lead. A bit of a scrambled goal, they all count. Oh, so that was their equaliser. That was a scrambled goal. Sorry,
Yeah.
the first one in the first minute from Ibrahim.
From wasn't distance from.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
it was a nice finish, and then the turning point came with Ariel Lassiter getting sent off. It was a video review for a kind of elbow into the guy's face or throat, and yeah, it felt a little harsh. Obviously he didn't mean it, but he did make contact, and that was the turning point. Then Philly came storming back, got 2 goals in 2 minutes, but then they go down to 10 men for a second yellow for a booking, and then Montreal pretty much immediately after that get back to 2-2 with a scrambled goal from Piet and salvaged the point in the end. And it's been a very interesting first half of the season for Montreal. They're sitting in 12th. They're on 17 points from their 16 games. They're only 2 points below the playoff line. So their season can still go either way right now.
Yeah.
They've played so well. Like that first half again, or the first half hour against Miami, they were excellent.
Oh.
And they've had some tremendous games this year, but they've also been really stinking in some as well. So much like the Whitecaps, I don't really know that we know what the real Montreal team is yet.
If they had been able to hold on in that Miami game, I think
Yeah,
it
it
would
could
have
have been a big turning point for
would have
them.
been huge for them. Like,
But then they get humiliated in the Canadian Championship. They get humiliated by TFC in that 5-goal game. And yeah, I just don't know what to make of them yet. TFC, I mean, let's finish on a laugh. TFC, to quote the famous song, Zach, 2-0, and you fucked it up. 2-0, and you fucked it up. Which I want to hear your guys singing at Willoughby at some point. Maybe I'll have to get in amongst you guys to start these chants. Someone
Yeah.
said to me at the game on Saturday at BC Place, I thought there would have been more anti-Messi and anti-Miami chants and lots of like swearing about Miami at the game last week. I went, oh, there would have been if I was still in the South Side. That would be 90 minutes of F-bombs. But yeah, TFC looked like they were coasting.
It did.
Bernadeschi, hero and villain.
Yeah. Bernadeschi playing as your right wing back.
He's had a few games there now and he's looking really good.
Yeah, but
it feels like a waste, but he's flying there.
No, it feels like I mean, watching parts of this game, you saw, okay, yeah, he's working hard to get back to positionally be in the right spot and stuff, but I'm just like, long term, John, it doesn't seem like the right solution.
I'm sure if they can act in the summer to bring in a proper wing back. I mean, obviously, Richie Larea can play there as well.
Yeah, but he's still out, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bernadeschi
it was a nice setup for the opening goal and obviously a nice finish.
Lovely finish from a tight angle as well.
Yeah, but for him, I think it's one of those finishes where it felt like maybe it was easy for him.
Yes.
But again, was it not?
He makes it look easy.
It was against Alex Bono, right? Former TFC teacher.
Yeah, a DC side that are not very good when they don't have Benteke, and then Benteke went off injured in this one.
Oh yeah, right.
And I haven't heard how bad it is, but if he is out for any length of time, DC are screwed.
It's crazy how kind of bad they used to have a horrible crap stadium and had amazing support and did amazing things. Now they have a wonderful stadium in many respects, in most respects. I mean, other than that time where the part fell off at the very. Do you remember that? Like it was opening.
Oh
game.
Yeah.
But a great stadium, and then the team they can't get it right on the pitch.
Yeah.
And the support is changed in that state. Like the amazing
Barra Bravas.
Well, that's a longer story we can't get into right now, Michael. Like District Ultras and stuff. I think they've had this battles and they've had bands and they've had all these things.
Yeah.
Which we could debate the debate for a while, but yeah, it's just not quite the same. Because I do like I think I may have said in the show many years ago, I have a lot of respect for district ultras and their style of support, their full 90 mentality and their visual displays and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, it's difficult to see them having to have gone through so much.
Yeah. They fought back well here. Like
Yeah.
they made it 2-1 when it was still 11v11 with Coup de Pietro. But then Bernardeschi gets sent off for kicking the ball away. And there's an argument to be made that he was just trying to cross it and he hadn't heard the whistle, which I think is the argument that he was trying to make.
Okay. But on a weekend like this, we need to compare and contrast. Have you seen a similar second yellow card in the CPL in the Ottawa Halifax game?
I haven't seen that game. I've got it on the PVR. I know the score, but I haven't seen it.
Dude, I'm sure your friend Geyser is like just livid because it's the exact opposite of what Bernardeschi did. It's literally the whistle goes and he just taps the ball. Like it goes like I don't know, 2 feet, maybe 3 feet, and the ref gives him a second yellow, and he's just like, "What?" And it plays a role in the result. And yeah, I sorry to ruin that part of that for you,
Well,
but
it's like, I guess the letter of the law is if you kick it away, it's a yellow, because it happened in I think it was the TSS Unity game on Friday night.
you're not wrong. It is the letter of the
Yeah.
law. You need to watch the
Yeah, but it's like
the-
TSS were losing, and the whistle went, and our guy put it in the net, and he gets a yellow card, and it's like he's not time wasting. The team's losing, so why would he want a time waste? So I think there has to be a bit of common sense there. And also in a stadium like that, did Bernardeschi hear the whistle and kick it away petulantly? Did he not hear the whistle? I guess we'll never know. But it was a big turning point. It gave DC hope, and then Gomez gives away the penalty. He gets a yellow card, so they're down to 9 men, and
Yeah.
Kilic then scores the
And-
tying penalty, and it's a 2-2 draw. And they nearly won it, but they got a goal ruled out for offside.
Yeah. And I saw actually Richie came on as a sub, so he is back in the
Yeah,
swing.
he was back, and then he got suspended for
Yeah,
the
yeah.
altercation at New NYC. That
I had still thought he was not like fully fit, but
he's
to see
not fully up and running.
good to see him on the pitch.
Yeah. But that was TFC. So that was a fun way to end this segment. That is it for the MLS chat. We've got one more Whitecaps bit I'm going to mention. And the interview I was going to bring in this part, I'm going to save it for part 3 because we went on a bit in this part. But we're going to be back with all of that and talking CPL, throwing a little bit of League One as well, after we hear the first song from our new album of the month.
Hi, I'm Philip Dos Santos, and you're listening to the AFTN Soccer Show.
He's saving up for a new Ben Sherman. He says he'd like to fuck Uma Thurman. I don't think that he'll get too far with either of those dreams. He's got his eye on a pair of Pumas. He says I should cut my hair like Uma's. If he thinks I go along with his circumstances, when you call my name, it better be me that you want and not anyone else. If it's all the same, I don't wanna get into bed with your dreams there as well. Get through your head, or do I have to yell that I don't want that? Well, I might desert you, 'cause if I get a shot back and sides, will that hurt you? He says he's starting to feel quite horny. I say shut up and read your Nick Hornby. Then he pouts to try to sway me, but I don't think so. He says you can't waste a good erection. I think I'm starting to lose affection. I once felt for him it's over. I tried to tell him, when you call my name, it better be me that you want and not anyone else.
Welcome back to the AFTN Soccer Show on CITR Radio 101.9 FM, brought to you in partnership with recoveryfamilylaw.ca. And kicking off this part, it's the first song from our new album of the month at AFTN for the month of June. I settled for an album from the 90s, 1996 to be exact. It's the last studio album by this 5-piece English band from Oxford. Female-fronted band. I love my female-fronted bands. So I thought it was a nice follow-up from Habibi last month. And it's a band named, that I'm sure you'll love the name of this one, Zach, Heavenly.
Interesting.
It's from their fourth and final studio album called Operation Heavenly, released on the legendary K Records out of Olympia, Washington, which is unusual for an English band really to be on one of those record labels. That's the fourth track from the album. It's called Ben Sherman, after the famous English fashion designer. I actually still wear to this day a Ben Sherman belt. Never owned a Ben Sherman shirt though, but you can kind of like, the band were formed in 1989 and they've got quite a twee indie rock sound, but towards the end they were kind of very much of the Britpop era. And if you hear that song, if you hear other songs on that album, it's got a very Britpop feel to it, very much a sound of the times. The lyrics as well kind of place it perfectly. He's saving up for a new Ben Sherman. He says he wants to fuck Uma Thurman. Who talks about Uma Thurman anymore? But very big in the 90s. And we've got 4, maybe 5 more songs coming up from Heavenly over the course of the month. And I think you'll really enjoy this album. You can check them out in all the usual places. And very excitedly for me, I found out a couple of weeks ago, they have reformed. And they're going on a US tour in October. They're playing in Seattle and Portland, whilst I will be down in Oregon on holiday. So I'm going to get a chance, hopefully, to go and see them in Portland. I've never seen them live, so it'll be very, very special. I saw a picture of them now. They look quite old. but don't we all, Zach?
Don't we all? I mean, the picture you put of me on X makes me look a little bit younger than I am.
Yeah.
But far larger than I am.
Lesser years, more pounds. You can get to that look again though, Zach, one day, I'm sure. Having watched you devour that tub of ice cream at the start of this show.
Tub. That's a
tub?
That's not a
It's a small tub, but it was a tub.
It's like less than a quart.
Fun fact, Tub would also be your nickname in Scotland. But let's move on. We've got one last bit of Whitecaps news to talk about, and we'll start off this part talking about that because the draw was made for the Canadian Championship semi-finals, and I was cock-a-hoop that it set up Whitecaps Pacific 3, the BC Derby, and then I looked at the Whitecaps fixtures around it, and it's an absolute nightmare. I kind of wish Ottawa had won that game because they're away in Montreal. They fly back midweek to take on Pacific. Then they're flying off to play St. Louis. And then they've got a game in Minnesota.
Yeah.
That is a horrendous period for the Whitecaps. So great for me. I'm going to get over for the game. Maybe have a few days over on the island. But that was not the best draw in terms of travel for the Whitecaps. But very excited to get a BC Derby. And very excited that we've got TFC Forge as well. I mean, genuinely, it could be an all-CPL final.
Yeah, it could. I think
needs a lot of things to happen, I think.
That would be quite shocking for everyone.
Some off days from the MLS sides over 2 games. But it can happen, as the Whitecaps very ably showed against Cavalry just a week or so ago. But yeah, a perfect draw, really, in terms of derby and interest and stuff like that.
And the finals in BC, no matter what.
Well, that was the other thing as well. So we were watching the draw live during the Whitecaps post game after the Colorado game. So Nathan had said, "Oh, do you want to bring Vanny on now, or do you want to wait till the draw's over?" It's like, "Oh no, let's just wait till the draw's over." So we're watching it live, and for once, I was ahead of everybody in my feed.
Nice.
And I went, "Oh, I'm ahead. I won't spoil it for anyone." And Whitecaps came out first. So I was like, but then Nathan's like, "Oh, just tell me what's happening. I can't stand this. Just tell me what's happening." So I was like doing the live draw as it was coming out. So I was like, "Yes, we're going to be at home for the final." And this, we've got Pacific. So it is fantastic. A chance to host a third straight final at BC Place, or for Pacific if they get through. And we spoke to James Merriman after the derby last week about that opportunity. So he knows what an opportunity it is for his side. One thing I never mentioned in the show last week, I wanted to ask James this. Did you notice how white his top was in that post-game interview? I want to know what his washing routine is and what washing detergent he uses to keep his clothes that white. Like back in the 70s and 80s, it would have been Daz in the UK, but we don't have that over here. But I was very impressed at the whiteness of that.
You're hilarious.
Maybe I'll ask him that in the pre-game call. Talking of white things like Whitecaps, James, your white top after that Pacific game. But yeah, that should be very exciting. But that brings us nicely on to a quick CPL roundup, and then we'll finish this part by turning our attention to national team and a interview that I've got lined up for this part. But 4 games in the CPL this weekend. Yeah. I've only seen 3 of them, but I know the results for all 4. I watched Forge destroy York on Saturday.
Oh man, it was
well worth getting rid of Martin Nash, wasn't it?
Well, no, I can only imagine Martin Nash watching that game in horror.
Yeah,
and the goal that
or glee.
Yeah, maybe he was smiling a bit. That goal that York gives up, trying to play out of the back.
Oh,
so you have the keeper taking a goal kick. It's on the 6-yard box. You had 2 guys wide, and you had the 2 Forge guys like lined up, ready to pounce on those guys. So they still play it short. It plays it short to the left side. The defender plays it back to the keeper, and the keeper decides for some reason, I'm going to try and go between these.
Yeah, I'm just going to dribble this out. That's what goalkeepers are known for.
And they just squeeze him, and the ball squirts loose to Kyle Becker, who's like, "Are you serious? Thank you very much."
Yeah.
1-0 Forge. Now, to be fair, the other 2 goals in this game, the Tristan Borges left-footed strike from the left, and then I always forget his name, the left back, number 17, or left-sided guy, number 17, with also a beautiful finish off the post. Yeah, Pata. Is he new this year?
No idea.
Okay.
Don't follow Forge that closely.
Anyway, he with another great left-footed strike, first time off the far post and in.
Yeah, they were good goals.
Forge, except for the first one. Forge were well worth their.
The thing is, there's a couple of college teams in Canada West that play like that, from the goalkeeper, defenders either side, and play it out. And every time they've played UBC are a pressing team. They just immediately put them under pressure, and it's like goals are lost, there's panics, and it's like, I just don't get teams that like to play like that at all.
And you got to recognize the situation and change it up. And like, yeah, when you're so rigid that way, it's easy for a team that presses or that is works well together as a defensive unit to key in on moments where they're going to take the ball from you. We didn't talk about it. I didn't think I mentioned it at the time, but Vasco Fry's winning goal in the BC derby a week or 2 ago was the same thing.
Yeah, it was a giveaway and pissing about at the back.
He forced it. Yeah, they were playing out of the back, but he saw the opportunity to come in and win the ball. He wins the ball. His teammate takes a shot, rebound comes to him, he buries it. You have to be able to recognize, hey, this is a good time to do this. This is a bad time to do this. You know, even back in the day, like Arsene Wenger wouldn't like freak out on his squad if they're like, you know what, we're gonna play a ball long. You know, like we're gonna have to keep it, kick it long.
As soon as we play it to the side, our guys are under pressure. So why would you keep doing it, as you say?
Yeah.
Now, I watched the first half of Pacific Cavalry live, and then I watched I just fast forwarded through the second half because I knew the score.
How'd that game on?
Yeah, I think a draw was probably a fair result. Yates gave Pacific the lead, and then Warshevsky. Nice goal. I've
Yeah, but
really
kind
liked
of
what I've seen. Like, he's come in, and I wasn't sure how he would do there because
no.
I'm not sure.
I always had good feelings about him because he
Yeah,
still
you were
ended up
high on
being.
him when we did
I
our
I had hoped
preseason preview.
I had hoped he would have been an Eagle, but great diving header for Yates's first goal of the year.
Yeah,
And then Toby's finish was a weird one because he like bounced it kind of into the goal off a guy. Like it was like the way he hit it, it like went into the turf and then kind of up and I think fooled Gazdov a little bit. Um, it was just a bit of a different goal. Like most people who support the Eagles, I was really hoping that Tommy's side would be able to get all 3 points,
mhm,
and keep Pacific further back. But
yeah. Dropping
another
two is good though, especially at home.
totally and a respectable away result for Tommy's side,
Yeah.
who slowly kind of continue to progress. The third game is the one you haven't seen.
Yeah, I've just
I-
got it up here just now, and I'm like, oh, I need to watch the highlights of this at least after we finish recording.
Well, if
Halifax
you
are two up and then blow it.
exactly Halifax away to Ottawa, get
Yeah.
two up, but you got to fast forward to it's 2-1, and then that's when the
Yeah,
crazy
Cornbra
moment.
gets sent off after
Yeah,
scoring to make it 2-0.
yeah. Did you see the sending off?
No, I'll watch all
Oh,
this
oh,
after.
you'll watch it
But
later.
I'm
You got to
curious
see
as
it.
to the winning goal coming 11 minutes into stoppage time. Was
Well,
that justified?
there was 10 given, so it wasn't a crazy extension, but yes, there were some frustrations expressed over that I heard. But
But
again,
was even 10 worth it? Because
I
that's a
have no
lot.
this one I didn't watch live.
Oh,
So I've
right,
only seen
okay.
the highlights of this. And then there's the unfortunate Vancouver FC loss on the road
Now,
to Valor.
I've got to say, we were chatting about this at the game on Saturday. I said Valor just seem to have found something right now. They're playing for
Well,
Phil DeSantis.
totally. Well, after going five games, five straight losses on the road to start the season, then getting a win, then getting a draw, and then finally having this first home game at a renovated, refurbished, updated Princess Auto Stadium.
Is that what it's called now?
They're sponsored by Princess Auto.
But was she in the Star Wars films?
The what?
The
Oh, Star Wars. Sorry,
girl with the things on the side
Princess
of her
Auto.
head,
No,
Princess Auto.
That's Princess Leia.
Ah,
And the Princess Auto is not the character from
Frozen.
no.
Do you want to build a snowman?
What was it? I was gonna say that what's the Mel Brooks version of Star Wars with Pizza the Hut? Did you ever watch that?
Oh, I don't know.
What's
I
it
like
called
Mel
again?
Brooks's History of the World.
The Schwartz is with you.
Oh, I don't think I've seen that.
What's that called? I can't remember the name of it right now. There's people listening to screaming at their devices.
They
What's
probably
it?
do that all the time when we're talking, though,
That's
to be
true.
fair.
That is true. Anyways, there was a crazy delay because of lightning, so the game started almost 2 hours
Yeah,
late,
which was great because I got to watch it live.
which was great for you. Not
Well, at
great.
least part of it. Not great for you sitting in a bar.
Yeah, which was that. I mean, that was fun, but it was
I
not
know
a
you're hammered now.
yeah.
Too much Guinness.
All I drank was water, Michael, and I had some delicious they're non-battered chicken wings. They were delicious. Salt, pepper, and lime. Very, very
Ooh,
good.
that actually sounds really nice.
So good.
I don't like chicken wings though because I can't be bothered trying to bite things off the bone. That's why I don't
Oh,
like drumsticks and stuff. It's like,
that's half the fun.
oh, it's not.
Oh yeah.
Not when you've got crappy teeth from Scottish
Oh,
chocolate from all these years.
oh, that's fair. That's
And
fair.
anything that gives me a lot of work, I really can't be bothered with anymore.
Anyways, the
Like these
game,
podcasts are just so shit.
the
I
game,
joke.
the game, the first half, I thought Vancouver FC acquitted themselves really well. I thought the
Mhm.
game was really,
Yeah, it was a fairly even first half.
yeah.
I think Valor edged it, but it was on the whole
Well, Valor
quite
edged it
even.
because they ended up getting the goal, right?
Yeah.
But like I felt like before the goal, I felt like
Well,
Vancouver
Kintav should have
FC
scored.
yes,
Played in
yes,
brilliantly by Diaz. And you think,
yes.
oh, here we go, it's the opener. I would
And
have
he should have
bet money on
scored.
that.
He should
Good
have scored.
save.
Yeah, good save, but there was multiple good saves
Yeah.
made by the Valor keeper. But the when it first happened, we were all shouting like, "Oh, Jose Navarro is wide open.
Yes, I
But
didn't
then,
notice it immediately, but when I saw the replay, I was like,
but
oh,
then when you see the angle, you see there's not a great passing angle. Like he would have
no. And I
had
think
to,
anyone through and goal like that is going to go for the shot.
yeah, yeah. But that was disappointing. And then yeah.
But then Kintar walls over.
No, no,
Is that
no. The first goal is
no?
the
Oh, sorry, I'd moved on to the second already.
oh well, the first goal we need to talk about because it's I feel so bad for David.
It's not had a
Uh,
good couple of games.
he
Didn't cost him at least last week, but
just had his birthday the other day. I turned another year older. He, I, I think he just misses it. You know, and I wonder if how playing on that surface. I think it's a new surface here, right? Isn't it?
yeah, it had just gone in, and obviously
Supposed to be really good.
rain.
But so David misses the ball, but also it looks like he then slides, so it's hard for him to recover. And how do you spell is it Swibble?
Swivel, yeah.
So Swibble goes in and Allen Enyu's trying to recover. And same thing with him. He gets his decision making wrong, or he even just sort of stumbles on the turf. Because at first I thought, oh, he's just going to slide in. And then you're like, well, dude, you're not going to get there. So you're sliding in, you're putting yourself out of position. But when you watch it back, it almost looks like he gets his feet caught in the turf, or he's caught between two decisions, and he takes himself out of the play. And then you have Callum makes a
Oh,
brilliant
great
save
save. And he
down
nearly
to
got
his
the
right.
second effort as well.
Yeah, and the second effort just falls a swivel and he buries it, right? And so it's just like it was so frustrating. And then the second half, yeah, it was again another ball that kind of caught NU out. Well, no, it was Mickey Kantav coming in from the right, and he goes to have a shot and whiffs on it really weirdly. Like I don't know if it bounced funny or he just missed it or whatever. And then the pass kind of goes through NU, and again, Swibble goes in almost alone on the inside left channel and just sees the onrushing Irving and just gives him a little dink chip kind of over him with lovely finish with his left foot, I believe this time. I think he was right foot and then left foot on the finishes. And then VFC made some crazy subs. Did you see like oh you didn't see he later on they brought on him Ba and they had Ba in the middle pressing. Like Ba was
Oh, I
almost
have never
everywhere.
ever seen him play
I know. We were like, is
there.
he really in the middle or is he just what? No, like Ba was in the middle, like doing a bunch of pressing at the end, just to try and win the ball back and help create chances. He almost scored. Oh, you probably missed Ba.
No, I'd switched it off when it
Oh,
went to
dude,
two. I switched it
Ba
back.
had a
I was watching that and Whitecaps 2, and then after it went to 2, I was like, I'm just putting it
dude.
on to
Ba
Whitecaps
was
2.
set up by Grady, and he took it
Ah,
first time and tried to put it low into the corner and didn't quite get enough on it. And again, the Valor keeper made a great save, he made a great save off Reynan header off a free kick. And it was awkward because both those saves were probably the two best saves of the match, and they came after the 70th minute mark. And it was in the 70th minute mark that the broadcasters decided we're going to award the save of the match for the save on the Mickey breakaway kind of situation. It was
in the
like,
70th minute.
yeah, we're like, that's kind of early to put up the save of the match. And then, yeah, these two other saves, which were just as good, if not, well, in my opinion, they were both better. It was kind of awkward, but yeah, anyways, full credit to them.
There was one of the games yesterday. I think I was watching, and there was a weird save of the match thing as well. And I was like, this is
That might
really
have been the
odd.
Pacific, that might have been the Pacific one.
Maybe.
But anyways, full credit to Phil DeSantos. He seems to have
Yeah.
got going in a good way. And for
I
his
mean,
sake,
from Phil's point of view, when you see the responses teams given him in the last 3 games, that tells him a lot
oh
about
yeah.
his squad and how they respect him as a coach as well. Because they could have quit on him.
Oh, totally. Totally. So I'm happy for Phil, but sad for the Eagles. The one thing is the Eagles do remain in second in the table. And so, there's opportunity to go to York next week and make things right from the 3-0 loss there earlier in the season. Well, the other thing we need to mention about this, actually, sorry, really important, is no Rocco. So Rocco got injured in the training session before the last game and didn't play in that, wasn't ready to play in this. And perhaps the most significant is Moses Dyer had yellow card accumulation and
Yes.
suspended. So the fact
Not
that
a surprise the way he's been going this year, but yeah.
no, but he's so crucial, and
Yeah.
no one works harder than Moses, and his link up with Diaz has been just uh, so encouraging, right? And both those players, like what Rocco's got 2 goals and Dyer has 3, right? Like they've both been really, really influential, and so hopefully going to York with a fuller, choosing from hopefully from the full options, Afshin will be able to make things right from that 3-0 loss earlier to York away.
Yeah, I mean he's such a commanding player. I like to often refer to the team as Moses and his 10 commandments.
Nice, Michael. Nice.
I'm getting these biblical references. I don't understand them, but I'm throwing them in for you.
I've
But
told
yeah,
you anytime you want them to explain, I'm here for you.
no, you're totally okay. I was going to do a little League One BC roundup. It's been an interesting game. Whitecaps women still running away in the women's division. The men's is tight. TSS still unbeaten.
But
1
dropped.
point lead now, though. 2 draws in a row. Came back from 2 down to tie it up at 2-2 in the game on Friday night at Swangard. And they could have won it. So you've got to watch the game back, though, for a fantastic bicycle goal from Victory Shambusho that had put Unity 2-0 up. And you may have seen some stuff on social media about Victory. I won't go into all the details, but it was a game I was calling last weekend, and Victory missed a penalty. And one of the guys in the YouTube chat just left a string of abusive, racist comments towards Victory, which I blocked and reported, but then I realized it's not my stream. So me blocking them meant I didn't see them, but other folk saw them. I wasn't thinking it wasn't my
where that
stream.
came from.
Yeah, it was
your reports.
unfortunate then because they've shut the chat off for the games. I like that. I like to interact with folk on the chats, and that's now one person just spoils it for everyone. But I apologized on the stream at the time, and it was just saddening to think this still exists.
Hearing you describe this disgusting actions by this individual, I do have one question though for you. Do you think this related to like sports gambling? Like it's someone who
It's funny you said that, because I actually had a thought, because I don't know who this guy was, because it's like, why would you dig out this stream? And then cause he was leaving other comments saying this league's crap, the players are crap, they wouldn't make it in the lower leagues of Europe and stuff. So I was like, well, it sounds like somebody that somehow stumbled across this stream for some reason. But yeah, it was just very disappointing. And I like when things like this happen in the UK, they find the people and they prosecute them and they go to prison. But we don't have those laws here, and we should, because for this still to exist in this day and age, it just sickens me. I've never had this on a broadcast that I've been doing. So I was like, should I mention it at all? And then I apologized at the end for anyone that had seen it. But it's like, I don't want to give the guy any oxygen or airtime talking about it. And yeah, it was just a horrible thing. And like, I don't know if you know Victory that well. I've known him for years.
No,
I've
I
known
don't know
him from his Whitecaps days at UBC. He is such a genuinely nice guy that lives and breathes soccer. He does coaching, and he's just such a talented player. He should be in the CPL, but it's just injuries have held him back. And I think maybe that ship has sailed now with his age as well. He's only 25 still, but
I've seen him play a few times.
He's such a good player.
The sports betting thing just came to mind because I just recently listened to an interview with Declan Hill, the author of The Fix, and how and some of the things he said, I was just like, some of them are just mind bending. You don't think that some of this stuff is still out there, but it's still.
When we were doing TSS games back in the day in the old PDL 2017-18.
Oh yeah, you told me.
All these folk were leaving comments. Oh, what do you think the over/under is in this game? And I'm like, what the? You're watching TSS play some unknown team from Washington State, and it's like you're betting on this.
Yeah, well, that's
the fact you can allow betting on that makes match fixing so easy.
Oh,
Because you've
yeah,
got amateur players that's not making any money and are going to
exactly.
be skint because they're young guys.
And
It's
they don't even,
easy to think,
and it
oh, I'll
doesn't
get
even,
my head turned.
well, and that's the thing. It doesn't even have to be the goals anymore, right? It can just be,
Well, that's it. Because in the A League, there's players that's been arrested, and there's a big investigation just now around yellow cards. They
yes,
they took from a South American syndicate. They took money for getting yellow cards at a certain time.
yeah.
These are all things that you shouldn't be able to bet on. Although I did joke yesterday at BC Place, if only we could bet on Sebastian Berhalter hitting free kicks into the wall, I could buy a house
That's true.
with
Oh,
the money I put on it.
remember the British keeper who looked like he could have been the equipment manager for the Colorado Rapids, who had
The
that bet
pie
eating the
eating, yeah,
pie
for
eating? Yeah,
Sutton United.
yeah,
Yeah. He got suspended for that as well.
exactly. Oh yeah,
He
totally.
was only eating a pie. He needed it. He'd already had 10 that day. He had to get his 11th in. He's on a strict 12 pie a day intake. But yeah, like gambling is ruining sport and football. I don't even know if I've spoken about this in the show before. We regularly, I don't even know if I've told you this, we regularly get betting outfits that want to sponsor the podcast, write sponsored posts on the website, take out ads on the website, and I always say no to them.
You have told me that, yeah, that you're not open to that.
I'm not open to that at all. I've bet on sports. I love betting on sport. It does add something a little bit special to it. There used to be something you could bet on in darts. I might have mentioned this on the show before, where you could bet on where the players would finish. And if they finished on double top, double 10, double 16, or double 8, then it didn't count, which is the four popular
Yeah.
doubles. But there was one match where there was two players that liked to finish on double 18. So every single leg, I bet on them finishing on that, on not the big four. And in something, it was like 9 out of 10 legs, I won. And I won over £200 in the space of like 15 minutes.
And of course, our listeners remember that you do like donating, what was it, $10 of your money to the Whitecaps winning the MLS Cup last year? Was that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, that was the
Have you gone on a limb this year?
Lionel Messi MVP. It's a risk. It's a risk. It is a risk, actually, because my vote right now would go to Chicho Arango, but still.
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's
Maybe I should put it on Chicho Arango. No bets this year from me. So they stopped that betting in darts, by the way, because it was easy to win big money very quickly.
yeah.
But I'm one of those people that's always been able to stop, and it's like, okay, I've got my money now. I'm not keeping going. I've made some money here. But yeah, that was fun times. I was over in the UK at the time, I will stress as well. So it was all legal as we did those bets. But let us finish talking some Canadian national team, because MLS head coach Jesse Marsh,
Oh my goodness.
I said I wouldn't refer to him as that, but no, Jesse Marsh announced his roster for the upcoming friendlies. Two very tough upcoming friendlies against France and Holland. Great tests for Canada ahead of Copa America. Not sure it's great test for France and Holland, but we'll see. But those friendlies taking place very, very soon. The squad was announced. No Whitecaps in it, but a player that did play at BC Place on Saturday is flying out for those two friendlies. Hopefully, he will be in the Copa America squad as well. And that is 24-year-old centre-back from Colorado Rapids, Moise Bombito. Bombito started off as a forward. He came through the CS San Laurent youth system, and then he played at college as a forward, but then made the switch to centre-back before he went on to NCAA, and then got drafted by Colorado Rapids, and has had 2 seasons now under his belt with the Rapids. So myself and Alex Ganguruzic caught up with Bombito after the game yesterday. We were told he only had a couple of minutes. So we're going to ask 2 questions each, but we got to ask a little bit more, and I just let Alex was on a roll. I just let him ask the other questions. There's a couple after we finished that I was like, I should have asked him that. Should have asked him that. I didn't. But here is our chat anyway with Canadian men's national team centre-back Moise Bombito. So, two big games coming up, France and Holland. Obviously, you don't want to maybe look too far ahead to Copa, but being in the squad for this, how excited are you for these opportunities, and what would it mean to you to get a chance to play at Copa?
I think it's a privilege to play against this caliber, and I think that me being selected is just a fruit of my hard work, and that's just the first step, and I have to prove that I deserve to be with these guys and help them achieve big things, because the opponent we have in the upcoming couple of days is going to be tough for sure, so I have to show out. Yeah.
You've got a new coach as well with Jesse Marsh. I don't know how much chatting the guys have done, but what's the mood in the team like, and how excited are you to have this guy as your head coach?
He gave me a call a couple of weeks ago about like how we're going to play, what he thinks about me, and I felt just about the way he was speaking to me, I just felt in my gut that he was a really good guy, and I'm really pleased that he's been appointed, and I'm excited to meet him in person. And I think with the I'd say pool of players that we have and his style of play, I think it's going to be interesting to see what we're going to do.
Year 2 of MLS for you. You've been off to a great start to the year. What's kind of worked for you now in year 2?
I think it's just learning about the games I've played on my first year. I mean, it was a really rough year, but I've taken away a lot of stuff from my teammates, the past coach that was there at the time, and I feel like with just the run of games that I've been having, I've been just like adding stuff from the previous game for every game that was coming, and I feel like I've gotten a lot of confidence since, and I just gotta keep going and keep proving that I can be helpful to my teammates and for Canada as well.
And obviously Chris I think he worked under Jesse at Leeds, yeah, exactly. So have you been had the chance to kind of pick his brain about what to expect from him?
I mean, yeah, kind of. I mean, when he called me, he told me that they both work together, so the style of play is kind of similar to what I'm used to in Colorado, so I feel like I'll adjust pretty quickly, and yeah, I'm really excited to go out there and do my thing.
Just another one, your speed. I think you've clocked in at the fastest in MLS this
like
year.
That, yeah, really.
What do you kind of make of that? Because I know Canadians are excited to what that might bring to the back line.
I think it's just going to bring more athleticism, and with the opponents that we're going to play against, I think it's just going to help us. And yeah, like I said, really excited, really proud, and now I just have to confirm my attendance. So yeah.
And I guess just kind of what's the big goal for you now this summer? Is it just kind of taking it one camp at a time, or do you really feel like just?
I think I've gotten a lot of confidence lately, and I think that I can push for a better role at the national team. And obviously, I'll have to prove it again and again, because when you go out there, it's not just about like seeing your mates, seeing people you're close with, kinda, and you have to go out there and show out and play for your country, because it's an honor, but it's also like big responsibilities. You know?
Awesome. Great, thank you so much. Good luck, and I hope it all goes well for you. Thanks. Good luck for the rest of the season as well. Awesome. Cheers, guys. Moise Bombito there, obviously not counting his chickens, but looking forward to these games coming up and the chance to go to Copa. And it's going to be, we know it's going to be tough for Canada over there, but these are two very good tests coming up. And also ahead of the Euros, it gets a chance to see what France and Holland are made of.
Yeah. I just really hope that this side can go out and really show that they are still near the level that they were in World Cup qualifying a few years back.
Well, the big interesting thing in this is what kind of style is Canada going to play? And it was interesting speaking to Bombito there, because Chris Armas was Jesse Marsh's assistant. Mm-hmm. And they've had chats, and Bombito's spoken to Marsh about how Marsh sees how he factors in to how he wants to play. And it all sounds very positive. Everything I've heard so far about what Jesse Marsh has been like in the first few weeks, I've really liked. but now we'll get to see
Well,
what a Jesse Mars Canadian team is
yeah.
going to be like. But it's still
Speaking of,
quite early to stamp his thing on it. And Biello's going to be his assistant
I
for
was
these
gonna,
games.
I was gonna say, speaking of positive things, I like
Mhm.
that Mauro Biello is an assistant
Yeah.
or assistant coach and head of pro coaching integration. And it's probably also nice that Canadian coaching community representative Paul Stelteri is involved. I think those are two people who had involvement, and it's good to have, I think, people like them who are, former Canadian internationals and have had involvements in the programs in different ways, and it hopefully also allows them to continue to grow as coaches.
Yeah. It's interesting as well, Canada playing Holland and France because they're in the same group. They're in Group D at the Euros. A
Mhm.
group of death. Although there's a
Mhm.
couple you could say that about because Poland and Austria is the other two teams in there. So to see how they both fare against Canada is going to be interesting to see how
That,
Canada line
that
up just in general.
that is my favorite group after ours.
Yeah, Group A is obviously the best group, and folk have been asking if we're going to do some Euro shows, and I think we might. And I'm going to talk Euros in a sec. I just want to also say well done to the Canadian women on their 2-0 victory over Mexico in the first of their two send-off games. Har is flying out for the second one in Toronto this week.
Oh,
So
nice.
we're also going to have a photographer at that
Cool.
that's going to be getting
Uh,
some pictures sent. Kevin Raposo, that's done some games at Forge Games for me. So we might have some live updates during the match. So watch our social media for that.
Happy to see Chloe Leclasse score again.
Yeah.
I think she's a really talented striker that deserves more time, and hopefully this helps her progress. Well, one thing I want to ask you about the women's team real quick is, do you know have you heard what's happened with Julia Grosso after her time at Juventus has come to an end?
No, I mean,
I haven't heard, but
it crossed my mind, could she be a marquee player for the Vancouver team? But that is quite a come down from playing from Juventus. I mean, it does sound like she wants to be closer to home. So if anything, it'll be NWSL.
Okay.
TSS Rovers alumni.
Yes.
And I'm not just talking about the brief season that they played in the WPSL. She came actually, before she joined the Whitecaps, she was in the TSS Academy. And she's been at several TSS games over the years, so she's still a supporter of the club. So I've always got a lot of
Mhm.
time for Julia Grosso. Great person, great player. But that will be an interesting one. But it did cross my mind, is that the kind of marquee player that the Northern Super League can attract?
Yeah.
And if it can, she's obviously going to be the Vancouver one, you would think. But questions
Also,
to ask in next week's show when we cover that more fully.
can I ask you one other question? I don't think we talked about this because I think it happened between last show and this show. Any surprises for you from that roster that was announced?
I didn't fully delve into it, I've got to say, because I was working all last week and I knew I wasn't going on the call, so I had a quick glance at it. So there was no Whitecaps. Nothing stood out immediately to me.
Thelonious Bear is up in there.
Oh, I expected him to be in it.
No, I know that's exciting.
Yeah.
Do you know
That
much
wasn't a
about
surprise
Tom?
for me. I was hoping that he was going to be in it.
Yeah. Do you know much about Tom McGill, the young keeper who's I think
At
owned by
Brighton.
Brighton and
No,
Hove
he's been in
Albion?
a couple of these squads now, and I don't know anything about him at all.
He's got U17 caps for England.
Hmm.
So yeah, I've heard of him before, but I don't remember.
Got a good Scottish sounding name, so that's a plus.
Always good to see. I mean, in terms of former Whitecaps, you have obviously
Oh,
Bear,
there's a few of them, yeah.
Cornelius, obviously Davies,
Yeah, I'm
Craypo,
glad Cornelius is in the mix still.
yeah, Richie Larea, Junior Hoylett.
Hoylett was maybe the surprise because for me, he didn't really
Oh.
light it up for Aberdeen. He had a few good games, but I mean, he wasn't like I will say when I looked through it and I was like, oh, Hoylett.
Yeah. The other one for me that's exciting is Dominic Zator. I hope. Yeah, I'd love to see if he could be
I
someone
like Dom. I
break
liked
in.
him when he was here with WFC2 in the first incarnation of WFC2.
Yeah. he has that legendary goal at BC Place for Cavs. Also,
Yes.
this year I got to watch a little bit of Charles Andreas Brim play in Holland, and he, I mean, there's so many other attacking options, but I saw some impressive performances from him this year.
Brimming with confidence is what I've heard about him.
And then the last one I mentioned is Kone. I saw a link of Kone potentially going to AS Roma, which I thought, yeah, because he's one of the, a highly touted, championship player playing for it's Wolves, right? Is he not Wolves? It's
no, Corbeau is with Wolves because Corbeau's not in the squad. Is that right?
No.
Yeah, that was the one big omission.
Kone is Watford, right?
Yes.
Yeah. One of the W's. Yeah. Okay. Cool. Anyways, interesting times.
Well, let's kind of keep the international flavour going to round off the show with this episode's wavelength. It is Euro 24 month. 6 weeks. It starts on the 14th of June with the big AFTN derby as my Scottish Tartan Army boys face off against Zach's Manshaft.
Oh, yeah. Are we talking about this now or later?
Oh, well, it's all tied in because over the next few weeks, I'm going to play Euro 2024 songs.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of them are going to be about Scotland because the Scottish artists have been busy in writing songs for the Euros. And a good friend of mine and former co-host on my East 5 podcast, PG Charletta, has a very famous song that it's not officially released yet. It's getting released very soon. It's an acoustic version. So I'm saving that till we get the proper release.
Do we need to know why he's no longer a co-host on the show? Because a lot of your friends who are no longer, or friends or famous people that are no longer part of something, is for very dodgy reasons.
No, he is
okay?
because he's going stratospheric as a rock star. So just had his headlining gig last night at the famous King Tut's in Glasgow. And this record that he's done from Glasgow to Berlin is going to be a big hit in Scotland as well. He's actually been flown over to Germany to perform some gigs over there to the Scottish fans as well. So it's going really well for Phil.
How's it?
Known his dad Toj for Toj is his, like I'm Goff, he's Toj. We like our three. I don't think his stands for anything like mine does though. We should have a competition for anyone that doesn't know what Goff stands for.
I thought when you described it to me, it's also it's from pop culture.
It's right? An abbreviation of a song by an artist I like. Yes.
Yeah.
If anyone else knows why I'm called Goff.
Yeah, if you do, it makes the dynamic between Michael and I some of our
even more different,
more interesting. Yeah.
And actually, I just hear Caitlin moving around upstairs just now. She can testify as to why I'm called Goff. Let's just put that out there. Thank you very much. Let's get back to Wavelength. So, this is a song that was released on May 24th. It's by a three-piece band called The Caledonian Dream. And this is a song for Scotland for the Euros. And you know, a lot of my Wavelength songs, Zach, there's a lot of punk songs, a lot of rock songs. Do you know what we don't get a lot of? Techno dance songs.
Oh, nice.
This isn't quite full-on techno, but it's got a nice dancey beat. This is The Caledonian Dream, Shot at Glory.
Come on, Scotland! Just a tonic, supersonic, Scotland football team. Let's go army, Tartan army, off to Germany. Change the story, shot to glory, Scotland football team. Not messing it up, we're lifting the cup, the Caledonian dream. All kinds of reputation, wrapped in a deep fried nation. We'll teach you how to behave. Bonny, brave, and built to rave. Invented nearly it all. That includes dailies and football. We'll take on any foe. Here we go. Just a tonic, supersonic, Scotland football. left in the cup, the Caledonian dream. This is where we begin. Years and years in the dark. Then in flew the Eagle, Stevie Clark. Now we're on our way to win in Germany. For among them all we take our place. Great chieftains of the human race. Just a tonic, supersonic, Scotland football team. Let's go army, Tartan army, off to Germany. Change the story, shot to glory, Scotland football team. Not messing it up, we're left in the cup, the Caledonian dream. Change the story, shot to glory, Scotland football team. Not messing it up, we're left in the cup, the Caledonian dream.
The Caledonian dream there, shot at glory, described by the band as a rousing terrace anthem that will surely help the Scotland national football team win their Euro 2024 campaign in Germany. Fantastic lyrics. Just the tonic, supersonic, Scotland football team. Let's go barmy, tartan army, off to Germany. You like those lyrics?
Like would not be the right.
I'll give you a little taster of my friend PG Charletta's song from Glasgow to Berlin. It's a very broad Scottish accent Phil has. The one I've just played you, sorry Phil, is way better than Phil's song in my opinion. I know.
Wait, does Phil actually listen to this?
No, he doesn't listen to this. It's fine. He'll never hear this.
Does he listen to Glory Days of Gold?
Yes, of course. Yeah. He's an East Fife fan. Why would he not? Everyone does. We capture over 50% of the East Fife fan base with our listenership.
Wow.
Don't do that here. Wish we did. Be rolling in the dough. But, I mean, that song's called Shot at Glory. And I don't know if you've ever seen the football film A Shot at Glory. You probably haven't. I
don't think I have.
It's a thing from the 2000s. Let me look it up. I think it's from 2000 itself. Let me see. Yeah, it's from 2000. Robert Duvall and Michael Keaton are in the film. And it's about a soccer coach who is leading a team to victory in the Scottish Cup, despite tensions between his star player and his daughter. With the owner threatening to move the team to Dublin if they lose.
Ollie McCoist is in it?
Ali McCoist is in it. It's a lot of actual footballers that's in it, and they've got proper acting roles and everything.
Ian McKellar?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow.
It's a big cast. Like Andy Gray. There's two Andy Grays, the actor who sadly passed away and the footballer. And bizarrely, of the two Andy Grays, it's the footballer that's in this film. We should do that as I've got it on DVD. I've got to get you it so you can watch it and we can do a review of it. It is terrible and fantastic in equal measures. The actual football play is not bad because there's proper footballers in it, but the acting is not great.
There's a guy here named Ryan Telford as himself. Now, that's not Ryan Telford who scored the opening goal in the
No, that is a Scottish football player.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, but we'll bring you that. But that was the first of our songs that we're going to bring you for the Euros over the course of the month. I've started with one of the better ones. There's a lot worse ones. But that's why I love these tournaments, because there's more football songs come out. I'll try and see if there's any German ones as well. But so many people sent me the Iron Brew advert this week. I sent it off to you.
You did?
which is going on about something I've talked about a lot on the show.
You've made fun of this for years and years.
I was ahead of the times. I've known all about your man shaft for a while now, Zach.
Well, I talk about it a lot.
Well, you do. And it's been very successful man shaft as well.
Yeah, I do.
You've got 2 kids.
I do refer to more often as the Alpha or the 11 as opposed to the man shaft. But yeah.
I can just see you going for a pee and looking, the Alpha. I am the Alpha.
Oh my goodness, Michael.
Yeah, if anyone hasn't seen the Iron Brew advert, just Google Iron Brew man shaft. Important you spell man shaft correctly, the German way.
No, yeah. So obviously people don't know. Mannschaft is the Mannschaft is like one of the nicknames for the German national team, right? It's like the team, the squad or whatever. And so, yeah, obviously the Scottish take the piss out of the fact that this German comes up with this Scottish guy and. Yeah, whatever. You watch it.
Yeah, basically it starts off in the toilet and a German guy going, "Good luck to your man shaft." It's like, what? Iron Brew do the best adverts. If you've never seen the Iron Brew Snowman advert based on the famous children's Christmas movie, you've got to check that out. But that is it for our nonsense. Somehow, I don't know how long this podcast is going to be because we chatted a lot of stuff in between bits we recorded, but we've got to 3 hours somehow. That's my final thoughts. Zach, what are yours to round off the show?
I'll just go quick. You can find me on X occasionally posting there at Zachary AM or being tagged in Michael's awkward shots of people who don't look like me but remind him of me. I just want to give a quick shout out to former Whitecap. Today is the 12th wedding anniversary for Eric and Candace Hasley.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, it's just happy anniversary to them. A wonderful couple who got married, a dozen years ago, I believe in Las Vegas, if my memory serves me correctly. A few Whitecaps were down there for that, like Davide Cumento and others. But happy anniversary to them. And
do you know what would make the a perfect anniversary present, or just a perfect gift for anyone? Is a signed Eric Hasley Tops card. If only I knew how to get hold of one. I used to have an unsigned one. I haven't seen that for many a year now. I lent it to a friend who promised he would get it signed for me. Still in your drawer?
I'm so sorry, Mike.
Well, when you're attending my memorial service, you can tell this story and you can hold up the signed card going, "I'm sorry, Michael, it's too late now, but I'll put this in your coffin."
I never got it signed. I feel so bad because I actually had very prime opportunities to do it that I totally forgot it in my drawer. Like his going away party was quite fun. The going away barbecue. That's when I could have got it done.
Thanks. Just rub that in.
Yeah,
just like you rubbed it into the beef. You're dressing, or bizarrely it's only 10:30 and I'm talking nonsense already to round off the show. Let's just wrap it up now. Finishing on June 2nd. It's amazing. We finished the day that we started the podcast. I think that's the first for a long time. Thank you as always for listening to our nonsense. We'll be back with another episode soon. The Whitecaps may have stopped playing, but the podcasts will never stop. But we will be back with another episode soon. Until then, thanks for listening. Stay dry. Do you know it's going to get up to 25 degrees next weekend?
Yeah.
After being 13 today. That's just insane. We'll be talking about the heat and I'll be complaining about that next weekend. But until then, thanks for listening. And as always, Mon the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.
10 minutes left. Yeah, but there's still some time. It's not the final score. We need more than the numbers we're given. Show us you live and breathe the game. You're more than a name. That's what we
AFTN